It's Friday night, and it's a Pontificators night. So, hi, I'm your host, one of the hosts, RT Bear. We have Draken, we have Todd Mulrooney, and we have Chester Busby the third. How are you guys doing?
Awesome.
I'm doing really good.
Yeah, maybe I should ask you one at a time. So, Todd Mulrooney, how are you?
I'm doing really good. Started working on my comic today that I'm going to be doing for Terrific. So actually, I
What
started two
comic
days
is that?
ago. It doesn't. I don't want to give away the name yet because we obviously have to work on what the name can be and stuff like that. I like certainly, uh, personally, I like some of the words that don't have Thor in them. Like for instance, God of Thunder and things like that. I don't want it to be called anything where you're spelling Thor differently or doing anything to do with Thor.
I think it should be. It's Thor, dude.
It's that dude, Thor.
Right?
It's that dude, dot, 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 Thor. Look up in the sky. It's a bird, it's a plane, it's Thor. There you go. That's
Have
good.
you seen my Thor thumb?
My thoughts. Yes. Okay, so how you doing, Chester? What's up?
Dude, I am doing really great. I feel awesome. It's a almost beautiful day. It's actually looks very rainy, but it's almost beautiful. And after this, I'm going to be running up to the motorcycle shop for more parts. So I got a busy, greasy afternoon ahead of me. It's going to be cool.
Wait a minute. What kind of bike do you have?
I have a 1978 Honda CB.
Ooh. Is it
I
like
just had to, I just had to give it to me, huh?
is that kind of a roadster style?
It's a standard. It's most people kind of turn it into cafe bikes these days, but it's just a standard old bike. It's not that big a deal. But it was given to me because I helped a friend of mine install the engine into his yacht. So he just had it laying there, and he knows I like bikes, so he gave it to me. But it's got a lot of work in it. But I don't know. It's gonna be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Are you a motorhead? I didn't take you for a motorhead.
Oh, dude, I'm a major motorhead, dude. Yeah, I love cars and bikes. Yeah.
That is cool. How about you, Draken, other than your man cold or your man flu?
I'm just sitting here watching The Brightest Star in the Sky. It's a Chinese drama, and I'm here to talk about the most important question ever:
And
boxers or briefs?
boxers or briefs?
Commando, baby. Commando.
I'm going full on commando, man. How about you, Todd?
Boxer
Join
briefs.
us. Join us.
Boxer briefs.
Come on, let it all hang out. Don't be a prude.
Yeah. I I wear boxer briefs for sure.
Yeah, but what are you
I
wearing?
do not like briefs. I do not like.
Wearing
I like the band of my legs to be around my thighs and not up around.
Wow.
Oh,
You know what I
man.
mean?
Yeah,
I-
no,
I-
I'm not joking about commando. I haven't worn underwear since I was 11, dude.
Dude, I'm not kidding either. I'm just
Yeah,
letting it all
screw
hang out.
that noise. Yeah,
Yeah,
I gotta let my balls breathe, man.
I'm letting it out.
That's
I'm
right.
letting it out, baby.
That's right. I just got this demonetized. Yeah, baby.
That's your thing, man. That's what you do.
It is right.
It's your gift. So we have, feel free to be part of the conversation, you guys. One of the things we always go off on tangents, but the main topic is, does Star Wars have a future? So there's some really good things that are happening right now as far as the Mandalorian and possibly the new Disney attraction, Rise of the Resistance. But then there's also Star Wars Episode 9. So, and then there's also still the regime of Kathleen Kennedy, and there's talk about Roundhead Ryan Johnson coming back, and there's some other craziness going on there. So we thought we would just as always just talk a subject to death, and that's what we're going to do tonight with Star Wars. So you guys ready to get into this?
Oh sure.
Absolutely. I'm afraid of Dragon though. I think he's gonna like blow up or something, man.
He's being too quiet.
But why?
Because you're being quiet.
Yeah,
Scary.
he's got the man flu.
No, I don't really have anything to say much about Star Wars. I'm not a big fan of it.
How dare you?
Okay, so what I want you to do is I
Stargate
want
better.
you to take the position of defending Ray. Ray is the most awesome thing ever. That's your position, okay? You're a devil's advocate today. You are Mr. Ray. All right, there we go.
No, Stargate is better.
I agree.
Wait. Stargate, the first movie is better, or the TV series, or
no.
what?
The
What version?
entire movie and show, everything about it is better.
Yeah,
I'll tell you
Stargate's
right now,
badass, dude.
the first two acts of Stargate, the movie, are really strong. The last act, not so strong.
I agree. Yeah, but the TV show really killed, dude. It was really good.
Yeah, that's why I never saw the TV show, so I can't really comment there. I couldn't get past that one guy. Wasn't there some alien-looking guy with an eye on his forehead and his head?
Teal'c.
Was he cool or was he just stupid?
He was awesome, dude.
Yeah, that was awesome.
I gotta watch this thing.
Now,
Yeah,
the
you do.
TV show did a lot more for the series than the movie did, to be fair.
So you guys just talk about Stargate instead of Star Wars? Then is that what we're
No. It's certainly not topical, but yeah, I agree with Dragon for sure.
Yeah. I thought the setup for the first two acts were the setup for Stargate and the first two acts were really strong. Okay, so one of the things is, like I said, the negative is episode 9. So I have a trailer here, and we'll just kind of, if there's anybody coming in and has been under a rock for the last month or so, we're gonna familiarize what this episode 9 is all about. So here we go. All right, Lucasfilm, do your thing.
Too dangerous. I need to go alone.
We're all in this till the end.
Are you in it to the end? You guys?
Yeah, you should pause it here or there. You'll get a copyright strike, dude.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna do, but I was gonna comment. So are you guys in it for the end, till the end?
Yeah.
No, that's really ominous for them to say. You're in it to the end. It's like, oh shit, you're threatening us.
Yeah, they are, right? Yeah.
Better
But no, I think it'd be better if we stop every now and then and comment on what we've seen, because they will copyright strike you, dude.
Right. So we're stopped right now. So let's talk. So you in it till the end. So do you think this is some kind of self-fulfilling prophecy? Is this going to be the end of Star Wars?
Well, no, because you're gonna get Kenobi. You've got Mandalorian. I think there's a restructuring and sort of rethinking it. But I don't know if you'll see it on the cinema. Who knows? But you'll definitely see it on their Disney Plus channel.
Yeah. So right now
there's no.
Mandalorian, right? What else is that Kenobi show going to be on Disney Plus as well?
Yeah, it will be.
Yeah, it will be. Yeah. No, I think the problem that Disney has put themselves in is they have created an incredible uphill battle for themselves. Can they succeed? Maybe, but I mean, boy, talk about put yourself in the absolute worst position. I don't know.
I agree, and I know how you feel about that, and I know what you're getting at. Is they SJW the crap out of themselves, way past the point of where like what we thought we'd get. If there was ever going to be another Luke adventure, we didn't get anything close to what our thinking was. Not even close. And then they even, not only beyond that, they didn't do any fan service there. They give you something that is not even representative of what we thought Star Wars was really about.
Right, and those things that you were talking about will never happen again.
Right.
They killed the two leads off in the first two movies of the new trilogy, and then the tragedy of Carrie Fisher, actually passing away. So
the dead one is the one that's still alive in the movies. Go figure.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So you'll never see the three of them in the Millennium Falcon ever again. And that's what everybody wanted to see. And I cannot believe that they missed the mark so badly with that. I mean, as cool as Lando is, it's kind of cool to see him in the Millennium Falcon. But the three of those guys in the Millennium Falcon with Chewie, oh my gosh, that would have been.
You didn't see the new news, huh? Carl Weathers had a bit of a interview the other day that came out. I think yesterday. You didn't see? He told the world that he's gender fluid. Didn't you know?
Oh my God, yeah.
I think you
Mr.
got the name
Colt
wrong.
45, Mr. Super Sexy, that made the entire black female community just literally drop to their knees, is now gender fluid. The
Okay,
ancient old man.
It's not Carl Weathers. What is this actor's name?
I thought he was Carl Weathers, not Carl Weathers.
No, Carl Weathers is a
No.
Rocky guy.
Rocky.
I
yeah.
apologize. Well, you know the guy I'm
Billy
talking about.
Billy D.
Billy D. Williams. Yeah, there you go. I apologize. But you know who he is. Yeah, no, he's gender fluid now. So there you go.
Well, he's actually denounced it as well, though. He said that he's not, because what they did in the article that you're referencing, he just said that he has like a feminine side, and that he likes it, and that he lets it out, and he uses that to be more sensitive in situations. So the interviewer and his SJW and the liberal media took it as that he was saying that he's gender fluid or whatever. And so then in an article later, Billy is saying, I don't even know what the hell that is. I'm just saying that I can be a sensitive guy. I have a sensitive side. So, like the old school way would be like, you're getting in touch with your feminine side, right? But it didn't mean that you were a girl. It just meant that
Because it's hard to make an article where the headline is Billy D. Williams admits he's normal.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that you added that on top of that art. Although I like my story better, but that's cool. All right.
No, but I like that you said Mr. Colt 45, because you know what? Just as an aside, when I was young and I didn't have a lot of money and I still wanted to drink with my buddies, Colt 45 was always the go-to. Those 32-ounce cans, they were cheap and you could get a buzz off them.
Oh yeah, I remember, dude. Yeah, that it was either Colt 45 or Busch Light.
Busch Light. Man, Busch
Right.
is coming back with, what do they call the new yuppies? What are they called? Oh my gosh, they like the blue ribbon and Busch beer. Yeah,
Like soy boys.
Yeah, it's some of the
Oh,
worst
yeah.
beer out there, and they like it. So bottoms up, man. They're gonna bring back Coors and Budweiser as well. Actually, Budweiser isn't bad, but Coors is horrible.
Yeah, Coors is pretty bad. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
But that I think Coors was trying to make a play on Cerveza, right? I mean, that's what they were trying to do with that, I think.
oh, did
But,
they? Yeah. I
Yeah,
don't
but no. When I was young, only the homosexuals drank Coors.
Did you know a lot of homosexuals?
Dude, I'm a musician, dude. You think I don't know a bunch of homosexuals? Come on now.
Then they moved to Zima,
Oh yeah, yeah,
right?
Oh my
yeah,
God.
they did. Yeah, they did. Yeah, you're right.
Zima was like the what is it? The Starbucks of coffee. Like, wasn't it? They were trying to get the ladies to drink beer, and it had a ton of sugar or something, and it didn't. It was like sweet beer, right?
I don't know.
Oh, I don't know.
I think it was. It was like it was almost like drinking a Sprite, but it was beer. And I always think the same thing with Starbucks is like you put enough sugar and cream in something, and it's almost like a dessert. And that's not coffee of my day. My parents used to drink coffee straight up black.
Yeah, I still do. I am right now. Matter of fact.
Yeah. It's like you start putting that much sugar in something and cream, it just becomes, like kids' fare. It's not an adult beverage anymore. All right, you want to move forward? Or do you think we're going to do a strike? Or are we fine?
Yeah, you go ahead.
Let's do this. Okay, I turned it down. Oh, wait. Okay, so I'm going to back up just a little bit. Is this the scene where they have the horses? The horses right on the deck of a Star Destroyer.
Oh, I thought that was at the end. They put that at the beginning this time, huh? Oh, wow.
Well, I don't think you see the horses, but this looks like the setup. So it looks like the same scene with the horses riding on the deck. Yeah, I don't know how the hell. For one, I don't know how the horses got there, and two, in the outer or upper atmosphere, there's not a whole lot of oxygen, so I'm not sure how or what they're breathing.
Well, it looks like a Star Destroyer, but I mean, it might be something that's actually
On the ground?
Yeah.
There's clouds, dude. There's clouds right there, and there's a bunch of Star Destroyers in the air.
Yeah, no, I think the end act, the third act, is all taking place over the destroyed Death Star that's sitting in the off the coast on the ocean. Yeah.
Oh, so you're talking, Todd. You're talking not so much this scene, but the scene with the horses. That might be on the ground.
Yeah.
Okay, but it looks like the same setup as this. Now I'm intrigued. Where are the damn horses? Where are the horses? So you guys in favor of the horses, or is this a misstep?
Well, it's obviously a tie-in to The Last Jedi and Rose Tico.
Tico's she set them free, and now they're gonna, get killed in a battle.
But they did it because of their patrioticness.
Yeah, they were free. They were free to die in a battle. They weren't free to be tased or what? Did they actually? Yeah, they showed them being tased or whatever in the Rian Johnson version.
Yeah, they did. They, the animal rights stuff. But the thing with Star Wars, because it is such high tech and low tech at the same time, I guess. But the thing with Star Wars, it's interesting when dealing with animals. There's a certain way to introduce them that's cool, and then there's a way that's really not cool. And charging into battle on a bunch of horses, it's not cool. It's not the Star Wars way, right?
Yeah, especially when you have blasters.
Yeah, they should have been on land speeders or something like that if that's what they wanted to do. But whatever. We don't know the context, I guess.
Yeah, unless the Ewoks were very low tech characters, so they fought with clubs and rocks. But they were just that type of race. But these guys, man, they're humans or whatever the equivalent in the Star Wars universe is, and they're on horseback. So they're not even like primitive people. They're actually, advanced humans.
Yeah, and Jam makes a good point. It's the new Death Star trench run in horseback.
In horseback.
That's
Let's
awesome.
see if Disney can market that.
Yeah. But a lot of people are mentioning that though, because it's just like, it stands out, right?
Yeah, it's just weird. I mean, I don't want to predict any doom and gloom on this stuff, but there looks like there's a lot of missteps here. This visual, by the way, looks pretty amazing, though.
It is, but the thing about that the rumors and leaks that are coming out is if you look at these are not the new order stuff. These are the old Imperial stuff, right? And supposedly in the unknown space, and for all you guys who read the Legend stuff or what they call Legends today or do the role playing stuff, where unknown space is. That Palpatine, because that was a clone, obviously. Palpatine is sitting in there, and he's built up this incredible armada over the time. He's been hiding in the unknown space area.
Aren't they saying that that's like that ice world or something like that? That's where all these ships are, or have been stationed for all these years. I'm thinking too, like, where did he get the money to finance these things? This has got to be, $100 billion, trillion.
Because he's the emperor.
Yeah, but come on, man, get a job.
I know.
Get a job. Who's going to pay for this? All right, let's move on.
Twi'lek prostitution ring.
What's that?
He pays with it with a Twi'lek prostitution ring.
Ooh.
Oh, there you go. There you go. There it is.
Now it looks like they're on the snow planet where they've been hiding all these these starfighters.
Yeah. Hey, go ahead. Can we talk about how useless Kylo Ren is, though? Can we really, please?
He's got to be the worst villain of all time, right?
No kidding, because just be a villain. Don't be coming on to the hero. Be a villain. And it's so weird. It's like...
It's weird. Yeah.
You know what? One thing to take away from Star Wars from day one to now is the good guys don't really win. They don't.
Yeah.
Especially now with this one, with the back, they lost everything.
Right.
Well, the thing is, it's like they set Kylo Ren up like he was a kid that was a little confused and maybe he was being manipulated, and he had this worship of Darth Vader, right? But as soon as he kills his dad, he is full on in villain mode. You cannot redeem that character ever, because as bad as Vader was, this would be the equivalent of if Vader would have killed Leia. He killed what's his name, Obi-Wan Kenobi, but like he was an old man. He was, whatever. You didn't really have a lot invested in Obi-Wan to be quite honest. And so, the only thing he did that was personal was kill Obi-Wan. And Luke didn't even really know that guy. Like he had spent a few hours with him in a cantina and then went off to a starfight, like got sucked in a tractor beam, and then the guy died. Like, what was that, maybe 8-10 hours he hung out with that guy? So there wasn't a lot of connection with him emotionally. But as soon, but Vader didn't do anything as bad, or at least you didn't see it in a personal way as Kylo Ren did. So it almost seemed like it was setting up that Kylo Ren was worse than Darth Vader. You know what I mean? Because you never saw Vader do something like that. That would have been the equivalent of if he walked up and killed his own daughter, killed Leia.
Yep.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, no, it's actually worse than that, Art, because first of all, you have Kylo. He has lifelong training, right? From not only from Snoke, but also, of course, from Luke, right? He can't beat Rey. Every time he meets, she beats him every time, right? Even the New Order troopers have no respect for him because they just like, oh, this guy, and turn around and walk away, right? Hux completely disrespects him, right? Has no respect for him at all. Snoke disregards him and mocks him, right? So he has no authority, he has no power, he's not dangerous, he's not scary, he's just a kid throwing a tantrum with a lightsaber. And it's like, you're trying to develop a villain out of this guy? Who the hell's writing this stuff?
Right.
And keep in mind that he's entirely confused the entire time, and then he's
That's
like, at the very end of the last movie, he's like, "Oh, I get it. I just want to tap that ass," and then she betrays him.
Yeah.
That's pretty much his story.
I'm just saying the setup up to that point, he seemed like he could have been a good villain. You know what I mean? Like the moment he kills his dad, you're like, oh shit, right? You're like, oh my gosh, he's capable of that kind of evil. And then, of course, the next movie, they completely derailed it and then made him seem like, he wasn't the badass. But up to that point, I argued that he could have been a really killer bad guy. After that, if he focused and then just went into full badass villain mode, then we could have had something. But no, they tried to bring this gray area into the character.
Well, they actually set him up to be the good guy, because you could have introduced Luke as a villain in the second movie, and then at the very end, after he kills Snoke, well, Snoke's the bad guy, so now he's going after Luke. So that would make sense, and then he would be a hero from that.
Yeah, I see what you're saying with that, but even in the Force Awakens, Art, they screwed it up even there. Because up to the point where he killed his dad, okay, I'm with you. But then he goes and he faces Rey, right? Now, sure, I get the argument that he just got hit by a bolter from Chewie. I get it, right? So he's injured. But even injured, he should have wiped the floor with her and she barely escaped, right?
Yeah,
if they had done that and then followed up on it, he could have been a cool bad guy.
Exactly. Yes. So, yeah, you're right. Technically, if he would have dominated, even though he was hurt there, then we would have had a great ending and a setup for the potential of a villain to even be worse than we saw him in that movie.
Yeah, and it would have been better development for Rey too.
Yeah, because then she has a personal stake. He bested her, and now she has to study, and she has to become a Jedi Master, which she never really did study. And what is that? The Mary Sue, is that what they call it? She's a Mary Sue.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Yeah. She's just good because we say she's good and perfect.
Yeah, they screwed that character up, because if they had taken her into the second movie of a Jedi and she actually trained with Luke, and he actually was, passing on his knowledge to her, and he trained her, and we said, wow, this girl's really good. Look how quickly she's developing. They would have had so much more depth to this character, right? But nope. Not only did she not train with him at all, she beats him in a fight. She beats Luke Skywalker. Are you kidding me?
It's horrible, man.
Yeah, there were so many times that they could have fixed Rey throughout both of those movies.
That's true.
Because all they had to do is be like, yeah, she got training from someone else in the past, but no, she just never had training, and she's that good.
And now she's a Palpatine.
Yeah, and then she's going to claim the Skywalker name. This new movie is going to be a cluster F, man. I'm not going to go see it. I'm going to wait for the word to come out. And if the word is, if enough people that I respect say that it's good or at least marginal, I'll pay some money. But other than that, it looks visually great. But man, the story looks horrible. The character development is dismal. This is the best Hollywood has to offer. This is disgusting.
Yeah, I just love Yoda's excuse when she burns down everything. It's like, don't worry, she doesn't have to learn from any mistakes. You made all those mistakes. Like, what?
Yeah,
Well,
they just discredit all that where she has all the Jedi text at the end of the movie.
Well, yeah, but understand this. In that scene where Yoda's talking about the books have no value, the knowledge is in yourself, that whole thing, that is a Buddhist quote. He's quoting Buddha in that scene. So, I mean, just not for nothing, but that's what that was. Rian Johnson thinks he's a very clever individual, you see.
Yeah, he's a pretty dumb guy, actually. He doesn't even really understand just good G versus E kind of stories, and that's what Star Wars is. As soon as you start bringing too much gray area into Star Wars, it falls apart. It really is a simplistic story of good and evil, and the only in the original trilogy, the only gray character really was like Han. Like Han was kind of the gray area character, but they didn't even play that up as dark or as deep as they could have, so it's still pretty superficial. But in the new one, in the Rian Johnson one, where they had that stuttering guy, the guy that was the double agent, when he brings up, these people are selling weapons to both sides, it's like, oh, now we just open it up to a major gray area, like that Star Wars has never been in. The universe has never been in that kind of gray area. This is disgusting.
Well, sorta. Luke was actually going to the dark side for a while, and that's where the epic ending is where he goes, "No, I'm not going to fall for that dark side." That's why he was all dressed in black for a time, and then after he started wearing white again.
Yeah, that's G versus E. That's good versus bad. But I'm talking about gray area, like characters that are cynical, characters that are snarky, that live in more of a, I guess, realistic world. So Han has seen it all, done it.
Han Solo.
Yeah, exactly. Han Solo. He was kind of beat. He was kind of beat up, and so he was almost redeemed in the story because he lives his life in that gray area. You know what I mean? There's no right and wrong. There's no good versus evil. It's just opportunity to make money. And so he was kind of that character. But the redemption, the G versus E of that character is that he learns to help people. He learns to care for other people. He becomes part of something bigger than himself. And that's his hero's journey. They actually saved that guy from a life of just living in that horrible gray area. And I like that, but that's as gray as I always thought that Star Wars should venture into. But let's go a little bit further with the trailer and see what else.
See how uninteresting the trailer is?
Oh, look at that!
Oh my God! Who thought that was cool? I mean, that's like a kid. You know what? You take the two lightsabers and you put the lightsabers in, and then they snap open like a transformer. That's what that felt like to me.
Yeah, but
to be fair, right here with Kylo Ren's picture, that actually is a cool image.
Well, he's the best actor in the movie, dude. He could have been something awesome. They wasted this guy, incredibly wasted this guy.
Yeah, we're talking about. Well, let me see if I can find it. Oh, what is it?
Yeah, the red like.
Oh God!
Yeah, that image. Let's see if I can freeze frame it.
And how much does she look like Natalie Portman right there?
Oh, she's full on. Well, they gave her the eyeliner all the way around. So she looks all old and like emaciated. So is this her?
Natalie Portman. Yeah, exactly.
In like she's full on dark side right here.
Yeah, I don't get this scene, and I've heard a little bit of different theories about it.
It's a dream, dude. I
Yeah.
guarantee it's a dream.
Yeah, she's seen like projected that she's going down the dark path here.
And her, like, Luke had visions, but they happened in that cave.
Yeah.
They didn't happen in his mind. She's having all these visions always in her mind and being able to do things that they I don't know. It's a little complex for me, this character, as far as like, does she have different powers than everybody else has?
Obviously.
And I know they're introducing a new one in this. I don't know what it's going to be.
Well, healing. She's got to be able to bring the dead back. There's also been rumors saying that she lifts the Death Star. She lifts it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's going to be interesting. But I think that the way this double-sided lightsaber works is pretty retarded. It seems like it has the potential to, actually hurt yourself if it doesn't open up properly. And
Right.
didn't Darth Maul?
Yeah, Shadowversity did a whole video describing how stupid it was.
Yeah,
On every level.
Yeah, Darth Maul's was way more practical and just as cool, I thought. Because he had the staff, kind of lightsaber as well.
What's even slightly more funny is if this is a dream, this means that she invented this weapon, and that's just how stupid she is.
Oh, there you go. There you go. You know it's a dream, though. You know this is a dream sequence.
Oh, yeah. I mean, because they got her made up. So, because in a 2-hour movie, how would you have her in a 2-hour story arc kind of embrace the dark side like this and then come out of it in any kind of timely fashion? If they were going to play this beat, they would have had to do it at the end of the last act of the second movie, the middle movie.
It would make sense for her character, though, for her to go all Sith, because it plays right into how she is and how she's not made any mistakes and all like that.
Well, to be honest, I think that would be the best redemption as far as I'm concerned, as far as just throwing all of us off the scent if she was actually to become the main villain of the story. I would love that.
They're not that clever, dude. They're just doing that here to try to say, ooh, maybe she's a bad guy. Ooh, it's a trailer pop. That's only for the trailer. That's the only reason why it's in the movie. That's the way these modern filmmakers think.
Yeah. No, you're 100% correct. But I'm just saying. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
This is going to happen when she comes across Palpatine, and for like the first time, and he's going to try to convince her. Then he's going to trigger her into this dream sequence. That's what's going to happen with this.
I just want to see her run towards him in slow motion, go Grandpappy, and just like throw her arms around him. And he's like, no show of affection. We don't do that. There'll be no love here.
That sounds like a meme waiting to happen, dude.
Okay, here we go.
He'd be like, there can only be two, and he'll kill Kylo.
And he'll kill Kylo. I can't wait till they go, Kylo and Rey are brother and sister. They're twins. That'll happen.
Probably will.
Why not?
That was it. We got through it, man, and we're still.
No, that was the teaser for the trailer.
Yeah. Okay, so we're back. Oh my gosh, that was quite a journey. I feel exhausted. So that's pretty negative, right? I mean, this is going to be bad, right? This is a misstep.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think so. The whole thing is, and I think that's the overall conversation, is how much Disney has screwed this up. I mean, and I think something that Disney completely missed, and I don't know how the brainiacs over there could have missed it, but they obviously did. Star Wars was already sitting on a negative before you even came out with Force Awakens, because the prequels were unloved, right? And of course that irked Lucas to no end, to the point that a lot of people have accused Lucas of selling to Disney simply as a revenge for people not liking his prequels. I don't know if that's true, but but people are already sitting on the prequels they weren't really very good, right? So you're already sitting on negative. So you as Disney, you need to come out swinging hard to revive it. And the
Oh.
fact that they didn't do that and they've gone further. So this angst is not just from what Disney's done. It's building on what has already come before, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. They didn't fix it; they just made it worse. And
Yep.
then there's the vision, and then there's the culture war. Like they seem like that there is agenda driving these new Star Wars movies. So it's not even like we can judge them just based on, oh, it's a good movie or a bad movie. It also has agenda on top of that. So, what the hell, Disney? Like these are kid franchise. These are fun action adventure. This is not where you get political. This is not where you started, an agenda. Make movies that have those, but these are for kids. These are fun action adventure stories.
I think you're
keep in
wrong
mind.
that they were sitting on a negative.
Go ahead, Drake. Sorry.
Because they did have the animated series, like 6 up seasons of like good animated CGI series.
But the average person didn't see those, dude.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. But go ahead, dude.
I mean, the devoted fans did.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So,
and
that's
great.
where you're getting most of the blowback.
Yeah, there's quite a division just as far as the legacy characters, Han, Luke, and Leia being just basically there to try to sell to the old school Star Wars fans, and then they just showed such disrespect and disregard for those characters, and then they just killed them off in such a just almost like a textbook clinical way. They didn't even feel organic or natural or anything like that. It almost just felt like it was an agenda that Kathleen Kennedy or whoever said, let's get rid of these characters because we don't want to pay George any royalties, and then we'll introduce our own characters. So it seemed very, very clinical, but from a storytelling point of view and from a creative point of view, they shot themselves in the foot because they paid all that money, right, for Star Wars. Those are the 3 principal characters of Star Wars that they just threw away. What the hell did they even pay for? You know what I mean? Like, what were they buying?
Yeah.
Well, doesn't that go to the question of what is Star Wars to begin with? Because I don't really view Star Wars as those characters. I mean, there's part of it, but there's the games, the books, and all like that, and those seem to be more important than anything that was ever in the movies.
I don't think the general public know those things as well, though.
Yeah, although I do agree with Dragon on that, but ours right. But you got to also keep in mind another thing. I think it's very important to this conversation is this. When Disney bought Marvel, the intention was to make it family friendly, right, for everybody, right, and they successfully did that, right. But when they bought Star Wars very explicitly, they said this when they bought it. It was so that they could have a franchise for the boys, right? Because they had their princess movies for the girls and they wanted Star Wars to be for the boys. That was the intention. They said this very, very clearly. And then they gave it to Kathleen Kennedy, and she decided that it needed to be all about the girls. She said this many times. She's been on and on about it. She needs to make it more for the girls. We need to make this appealing to the girls. The Force is feminine, all that stuff. A major push from Kathleen Kennedy to make this a female property, not a male property. But it's confusing to me because when Disney bought it, the whole intention was to have something for the boys. So where did that get screwed up is kind of my question.
This isn't the first IP that did that. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I just said I had never heard that, so that's interesting. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's not the first IP that they've done that with. Power Rangers they bought for that. I think it was TMNT that they bought for that. There was another one that I just had on the tip of my tongue, but it's like 4 or 5 different series that they've bought, and they've all just messed up.
Well, they bought Marvel, and that I think the ladies like the movie too, but I think that pretty much just appeals to guys. So they kind of didn't screw that up yet, although this new phase, it seems like they're going to full on, get into screwing that all up.
Possibly, yeah. But the intention with Marvel was to make it for everyone, for the family, and they went at it like that, obviously, and that's why I think they were successful because there wasn't an agenda beyond making it for everybody and having commercial success. The problems they've had with other things is because, Todd has talked about this, and I think he should probably give some opinion on it. But we've seen a lot of this evidence that the Hollywood peoples, they simply think they're smarter and better than everybody, and I can do better than this comic book writer.
Oh yeah, I think there is a serious disconnect and contempt for the source material, and it's always been, but it's real obvious now. I like how they give lip service when they need to sell something or they feel that they have to come clean, and then as soon as everybody signs off and they think they can get away with it, they turn it into their own agendas or fundamentally change the characters around. That's been going on for a while now. But okay, so we got that. Oh, go ahead, Todd.
I never told I never told any of you guys this, but when I lived in Florida, I used to work in the entertainment industry, and I was constantly going back and forth to the studios that were
Chippendale?
No, I was an actor, and I did some commercials, and I did some background stuff and stuff like that in Nickelodeon. But the egos are as big as you can imagine. They're as big as you can imagine. Anyone that's working in Hollywood is sort of growing up thinking that they're elite already. And when they get there and they finally make it, whether I've met some really actually down to earth writers and stuff like that work in entertainment. But man, the people at the top they really think they're what is that show on Amazon? The King in the High Tower, or whatever it is, the Man in the High Tower.
Yeah.
The Man in the High Tower,
Is
yeah.
really who they really think they are.
Well, the reason you can connect with writers is writers for features are usually treated really crappily. So
Yes.
if you're a writer and you're writing for movies, then you're just a POS. So those
Yes,
guys
we are.
really bad.
Yep. The Man in the High Castle, actually, and that's of course a Philip K. Dick book, which is awesome.
It's a good book, yeah. Okay, so let's turn this around and go with what we think is good. So I have a Mandalorian trailer that I'm gonna just play little snippets of, so we don't get popped. But I kind of wanted to bring a new dimension to the show here, make it a little bit more audio visual. Yeah, so we have the Mandalorian here. So far, I mean, this is a great way to start a trailer. Old school Stormtrooper.
I've actually watched all of this, by the way.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet, but I have heard nothing but great stuff about the show. So you want to comment, Todd, about the show?
I will as we watch more of it.
Okay, well, I kind of wanted to just show a little bit and then pause.
You gotta turn
By
that
the way,
volume
this
down a
is
little
a
bit, Art.
$2 scene.
What's that, Chester?
You gotta turn that volume down a little bit, dude.
Okay, sorry about that. I
It's
just
like a
turned.
$2 scene to have all those helmets in there.
Yeah, but it's still cool though.
It is cool. Yeah.
And then putting them on spikes, yeah. I don't know, like this is a different dimension to Star Wars, and it automatically gets a reaction. You know what I mean? Like this is stuff you haven't seen before, but you don't. It's not like it's off-putting. These are evil people. These are bad people. That you see the helmets on these spikes. I'm hoping that they're not saying that there's heads in the helmet, but
They're clones.
the clones, yeah, they're soulless. Go ahead, Todd. What you're going to talk about a little bit?
Yeah, this is what time frame this is, obviously. So the Empire's a little out of sorts, and clone troopers, some of them have abandoned their post and gone to work in other fields. But the Empire's just starting to pick back up, because I got indications of that in the latest episodes that he actually, the Mandalorian meets a shock trooper who talked about the battle after Endor. We didn't know what to do. She talks a little bit about it, in a scene. I don't want to give it away. So she is basically saying the remnants of the Empire is basically shattered, but you're starting to see that there's a formulation of something that's being whispered about and coming back.
Which would that would be the First Order then, right?
Well,
Yeah,
no.
yeah.
This is like 30, 40 years from the end of the original trilogy. And
but Todd said, like, you hear whisperings of like a new rise of some kind of evil, and that would be the First Order, right?
Right.
no, they're actually talking about warlords. There's no mention of the First Order, but it's part of the.
They're into bounties. They're into, that's not the Empire. The warlords is where some of these troopers kind of went to work for.
They just
I'm saying
like
that
mercenaries.
the entire galaxy has broken down into warlords and everything, and this would actually be taking place at the exact same time as the Disney trilogy. So the First Order is already established somewhere. They're just not.
Mike Miller says that
them.
episode 5 is trash. Just so you know.
No, it's not.
We got a debate.
Mike said it though. That makes it true.
I think you guys should take it outside.
No, what Mike is talking about, I think what his deal is I think that Star Wars fans are a little bit more conservative about how they like the Star Wars than other sci-fi fans, and so
wait, I'm going to back up. I'm sorry, I just got this revelation. So you said this is during the First Order time, the Disney time?
It should be.
Then why are those helmets old school?
The what?
They are it's
helmets are old school helmets.
It's just kind of where they're at. This is the First Order has already begun to start to formulate at this time.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't know why they're using. It's just basically to show that either troopers were killed on this planet or people have just decided, you know what, I'll just live here and just assimilate myself into the.
So
it's just cool.
Trooper helmets have been there for like decades.
Yeah, this is showing that they're anti-Empire because there's a lot of anti-Empire stuff going on. Like they're like, well, you accept Empire credits, and Mandalorian is like, no, I don't accept that shit. And he's on the run from the Empire, so he goes to this planet, and this shows that this is anti-Empire by having these helmets up there.
Okay. Well, let me make a couple of comments here out of the chat real quick, if I may. Ray Thulu says Mandalorian takes place only 5 years after Endor, which is what I heard too, not 30 years. And Nox9 says they're also not clones. Dude, I know they're not clones. It was just funny. Go ahead.
Okay, if you say they're 5 years, then I'm wrong because it doesn't say anywhere in the show that I'm aware of.
That's what I thought. I thought this was kind of shortly after the original trilogy.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's what I understood. Yeah, 5 years after.
Also, if you think about it, there's more room there to tell a story.
Sure.
In a way that would fill the gaps in between the two trilogies. If they did this real time with the new trilogies, then there's not a lot of story, there's not a lot of new information or development that you can get into because it's already been established.
Yeah. But there are a couple questions.
There are a couple questions I had actually, if you guys can answer for me. The two negatives I have been here. Well, there's more than two, but a couple of negatives I've heard very clearly that if you guys could respond. One, the episodes are very short, and two, it seems to be created for kids.
No,
it's for kids, man. It's visual.
I know, but that's what I've heard. Right, I'm asking.
Okay, 30 to 40 minutes per episode.
Yeah, for him to be carrying around this baby was just a, he decided. Well, he actually did his job, and then, he delivered the bounty, and then went back for
What's
it. So
the word for when you have it's a MacGuffin? Toyota is a MacGuffin.
Yeah, there's nothing really here for kids.
Okay, cool. But it is 30 to 40 minutes. What do you guys think about that short runtime?
You get a lot in that time. I mean, maybe you're doing this so that someday, because a show on television is about 41 minutes, right? So they
Yeah,
add in
it's
the
about 42 to
commercials.
45.
Yeah, so they add. So maybe they're doing this that, hey, maybe someday they'll show this on. I mean, obviously ABC or something like that. Years down the road or something. So you're making it so that it's easy to fit into the formula for television. I'm
Now,
guessing.
the reason,
Wow.
sorry, I keep on talking over you. I don't mean to.
No, go ahead, dude.
The reason I think that people might think it's short is because these shows are basically, the first show is one plot point. The second episode is tangential and doesn't even need to be there, but it's just another singular plot point. The third episode is is another plot point, and they're just expanded on too much. These all could exist within like 20-30 minutes.
Oh, I
Also,
see.
they might have done it just to actually just cut costs, because if you can take 10 minutes, 15 minutes off of an episode, that could be, millions of dollars.
Well,
Well,
now that's interesting you say that, though, because if you see what Mike here has said here, he says they spent $15 million an episode. That's 2.5 times the Game of Thrones budget for an hour-long episode, and the quality is nowhere near as good. Now, I haven't,
yeah,
obviously you
it's
can almost
very amateur
tell that I
hour.
haven't watched the show. So, but what do you guys have to say to Mike's point?
It's really funny because the filming and the writing and some of the lip syncing is all amateur hour. It's all what you would expect from YouTube fan films. Like the style of the filming and the directing, it's pretty much spot on with what you would expect from a fan creator. But the CGI is spot on.
You're saying The Mandalorian, like just the production values look like bad TV?
No,
I
no,
don't
it's
know.
not.
No,
It's not bad TV visually. It's the styling.
You're
You
saying
mean the art direction? What do you mean by the styling?
Like, it's hard to
it's like a
explain.
western. It's like a western. What do you mean it's bad? It's freaking awesome.
Everything I looked, the art direction looked pretty amazing. The production values look pretty good.
Dude, you got to remember this guy's in like a armor, so it's you're not gonna. I mean, he moves really well. He fights really well. You put yourself in armor, and I see a little bit of the clunkiness that you're talking about, but that's just
No, I'm not saying it's clunky. It's the way it is filmed, like the actual way that you pan the camera and the way the shot angles and all like that. It's all like stuff that you would expect from fan films. It's not how you would film a regular TV series or a movie series or anything like that.
Interesting. I haven't seen
no.
it yet.
Explain on that because I'm watching the same thing you are, and I think it's being done almost like what was that show Kung Fu and stuff like that. Very similar to that period of television in the way they move the camera and the way they like they show the drama and stuff like that. All very much like that.
I'm
And I think that's
I'm
on
not
purpose.
I'm not familiar with Kung Fu, so like
Kung
I
Fu.
see it from like YouTube fan film. And it's not bad, it's not good, it's just the styling that happens, I guess.
That's interesting. Yeah, everything I haven't seen a lot, and I haven't seen a whole episode, but everything I've seen so far, it looks pretty good. But Todd, if you're comparing it to the old David Carradine Kung Fu, I mean that's a pretty bad TV. I mean,
What I meant as far as like the not it was bad because it was just a weird series, but but that's an old era of TV. But I meant as far as the stylings of the direction, the cinematography. The
okay,
stylings
yeah.
of cinematography is done almost a little bit like a spaghetti western.
Well, then I think
Uh,
you're agreeing. Then I think you're in agreement, because I think that's what Draken's saying too, is that it looks a little stilted, and the art direction, as far as camera angles and the way it's shot, it looks a little cheesy. And so if you're comparing it to
I
Kung
wouldn't say
Fu,
cheesy.
It's pure camp. So
I wouldn't say it's cheesy.
Well,
I would just say they do a lot of long shots to bring you to immerse you. Every time he changes where he's at or goes somewhere, they really really pull back. And that's
there's a few points here in the chat that might help the conversation. Let me read them. Zach Richmond says the best thing about the Mandalorian is the Western theme throughout the chapter so far. Okay. Ray Thulu says I strongly suspect that a sizable hunk of the budget is being spent on solid props and sets that they plan on reusing on future projects. Okay. And then the third one here is, to be honest, the problem is the hit and miss CGI, and that the aliens look like Star Trek, not Star Wars.
That's what I heard too. I heard, that the alien designs and stuff, they look a lot like they're from the Star Trek universe.
What do you think about those, Todd?
No, I wouldn't agree with that. There's
I heard
like
that about
the
the
last
movie too.
in episode 4, he fought some aliens that almost had like these dog-like features, were really kind of cool. I mean, really well done. They were like almost like orc dog combinations, and I thought, man, that was something I'd never seen before.
You had me at Orc.
Yeah,
You had me at Orc.
I
Yeah,
think that
I agree.
the CGI is done really well, except for when they're syncing the voices up to the lips.
And then
Other than that, it's really spot on.
well, let's move forward a little bit more and see if we can give ourselves some more stuff to talk about.
And the show is really campy, by the way.
Well,
like they even use like a rope climb thing from Batman 60 television.
Yes, I love that stuff. Yeah, let's get cheesy. Well, remember when Luke had that little rope and he swung across that little chasm in the Death Star? Yeah, very Tarzan. All right, so these are like some kind of slugs, little fish slugs. There he is in all his glory, or all her glory. They're speculating that it might be a woman.
Yeah, no, I've heard that. What do you guys think about the fact that it might be a woman in the armor? I don't agree either, but
No,
it's going around, dude.
And this is knuckleheads.
So it's a guy in a mask that just happens to have a really gruff voice and memories of being a boy in a cellar. Okay.
It could be computerized.
Or a girl in a cellar that looked like a boy.
Could have been a girl in a cellar, and it was computerized.
The helmet design, everything looks pretty cool though here.
It does. Yeah.
I'm digging this. Yeah. I don't know. This looks better than Kung Fu so far. I'm sorry, Todd.
Zach says, does there need to be a more common Star Wars aliens, Twi'leks, Rhodians, even a Gungan would be kind of funny. I haven't seen the show, but you would think they would show some of the more common stuff as well.
Yeah.
The only aliens that I pick out from another like sci-fi universe is the bounty hunters in not bounty hunters, the bounty in the first episode. They all look like the lizard dudes from Enemy Mine.
Dude.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah.
I want to see like the Mandalorian put like a super team of assassins together, and so like one of them is like a Hutt, and then one of them is an Ewok. So you get all these different types, and he still has the baby Yoda, and they're going to go into battle. I think that'd be awesome. It'd be like an Alamo type story where they're all just kind of trapped, and they have to like fight to the end, and most all die. So you get to see them all like go out as heroes, like Jim Bowie and what was the
David Crockett.
David Crockett.
No, but if you want to know what it actually feels like, it feels like Space Hercules or Space Xena. That's the vibe they're pretty much shooting for.
My goodness, that you just dissuaded me, dude.
Yeah.
I don't agree. I don't agree with that at all.
That sounds cheesy, but this looks better than that, though.
Yeah, it's way better. You can tell, like, okay, the first episode, they put a lot of money into some really, really great stuff in it. And then you can see where there's been some episodes already where they haven't put all their budget into as like equivalent to the other ones. But doesn't mean that episodes are, first off, it's well written. I mean, it's not like there's things that I enjoy and watch that are really, really well written, like even episodic to television. I love The Blacklist, but this is well written. It's I I don't know. I'm in. You know, I don't. As soon as it drops, I don't watch it. I just watch it whenever, usually while I'm drawing. You know how that is.
It
So.
seems like
Yep.
it's more of like an old school kind of like Conan, or like these characters that are just nomadic and they just get into adventures, and like good Conan adventures, like the novels where he's not necessarily good or bad, depends on the situation, but he could actually help, people, or he could be self-serving. So it seems like, you're kind of tapping into that whole, Western vibe of the bandito guy, or like Conan and these type of.
Well, I can tell you this: he has a reputation. So going in,
As a lover.
Nubba,
Yeah,
nubba, nubba.
he has a reputation almost like the best at what he does, and
Oh, Wolverine reference in the house.
he kind of has that Wolverine vibe that he doesn't over emotionalize anything. You know what I mean? He doesn't. You don't. Well, one, you don't see any emotion because he's wearing a mask. But he just, the way he moves and the way he goes about his business is very, very sure of himself and very, very cocky, but not cocky on the outside. Just like, everyone is built like everywhere he goes, it's almost like, oh my God, it's a Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a man of action. So
Right.
a man of very little word, and he's a man of action. So in the truest sense of the old school heroes.
Well,
Yeah, the
and
first
good
three
on
episodes-
Pedro Pascal for keeping the helmet on. Good on him for that. But I did see him in an interview talking about the character, and he said that he really wanted to base it on Clint Eastwood. His whole take is on Clint Eastwood. But for me, the big question, I mean, it's great to talk about, but the real question is, can the Mandalorian turn the tide and bring interest to Star Wars back? That's the real question, right?
Yeah, let's get through this. And so
See, don't those look like enemy mine characters?
okay, that does look like a Star Trek character.
Yeah, it does. Movie reference.
Badoom. Okay, so let's kind of so we can move forward. How do we feel? Do we feel like the Mandalorian is moving in the right direction? Is it good already? Does it have potential? Where is it at this point? Is it a smash hit? How do you guys feel about it?
I think it is. I enjoy it.
I think, like, I'm not a Star Wars fan, and I like it, but the reason I like it is because it's got a different vibe from other Star Wars stuff. And so I think it might be in the wrong direction, unfortunately.
So how did you feel about Star Wars, the original Star Wars? Were you a fan of it?
It's just meh. It's
Okay,
not
so
good or bad. It's just,
in general was not like a big thing for you.
no, I think the whole reason it got big is because a lot of people got exposed to that as their first exposure to big sci-fi stuff, big special effects, and the story was only okay, but the special effects is really what made people's minds like get attached to it.
Yeah.
Boy, you're going to get hate mail.
Don't worry, I get hate mail for my LOTR and Star Wars and everything.
No,
so.
it's okay because I appreciate, because it's different. It's a different point of view, and so when you say you like the Mandalorian, then that holds weight, because you're kind of like with the rest of the Star Wars stuff, you're like, but the Mandalorian you actually like, so that's valid. So,
But
how do you
that's
feel?
also me going like it's campy and I like it, and that's goes back to like I like Hercules and Xena and the Batman 60s vibe and the jokes, even though it's kind of bad writing. Those things are forgivable because of that campiness.
Dude, you have to watch the first Star Wars. You talk about campy.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Mhm.
Knox9 says everyone praised the Force Awakens when it came out too. Well, I thought for sure that it was okay, and I still think it's okay.
I thought it
If
had
you
potential.
Yeah, well, you have to shut your brain off. It's one of those kind of movies. There's so many plot holes, but I still think it's okay. You can go watch Force Awakens and enjoy it, but it's just I think for one of the problems that they have with the Force Awakens, really in the long run here, is that it's Star Wars. For some reason, people expect it to be epic all the time and amazing, even though the prequels were not. I agree with Dragon that the Clone Wars were amazing. The second run, anyway. I agree, but it's this expectation that Star Wars has to be something, and I don't know that the expectations are completely wrong because do keep in mind, Star Wars is or was the largest IP in history.
Yeah.
No, no. The largest IP in history is Super Mario Brothers.
No, dude, no. Star Wars is worldwide, man. The only franchise that's
So it's
bigger
Super Mario Brothers.
than Star Wars is the Bible.
The million-selling Bible, the blockbuster. Yeah. So we need Todd's reaction on the Mandalorian, and then we'll get Chester's as well, and then we can move on from here. So Todd, a hit?
Yeah, the things that honestly, the things I like the most about it is they're not, you're not getting any of the crap that Star Wars has given us. There really isn't an SJW take on it. It's very neutral in that sense. There's no the politics, even though there's politics all around in that world, it's not what's coming into play. This is just a guy who was chosen to do something. He did it and then thought better of it, and now he's kind of stuck trying to find a safe place for this child. Basically, that's what it comes down to. Now, along the way, he's running into areas where people could use some help. He doesn't really want to get involved, then he gets involved. And that's basically really the formula is he gets involved even though he's just kind of looking to kind of get away because he's burned his bridge as a bounty hunter. Now he's the hunted. And everywhere he goes, they end up he realizes really is no safe place because they're gonna track me everywhere. Every stop I make, they're gonna figure out where I'm at. And his ultimate goal is for safety for this child. And
So the hunter, the hunted,
yeah.
kind of thing. So then you definitely like it. You think
Yeah, I like
this
it.
is Star Wars going in the right direction.
Oh, for sure. As far as you know what, there was always, even when we were young, there was mention of a live action, and then George would talk about, well, really, the budget just doesn't work just yet. As we get further along in the technology, maybe it'll be possible someday. And you know what? You're getting that, and you're not, even though you're getting some CG, but there is a lot of things that are practical. So it's a blend, and you're right. They are trying to build assets to furthermore use later down the line, which is smart. I think assets. I think Marvel Studios was really smart about building assets and reusing them. The whole getting a team of guys to work on Asgard. Well, they didn't. All that stuff was built in the computer and then reused in the second movie and then the third movie and so forth and so on. That's just very, very smart.
Yeah, I agree. So Chester, where do you? I know you haven't seen Mandalorian like myself, but just based on what we've talked about here and what you've heard, how do you feel about it?
Well, I've been hearing a lot of really mixed messages. Actually, it is not consistently loved. I haven't heard anyone hating it, but it's very mixed, which is unfortunate to me. Some reason Art is trying to talk, but something's going on with his mic. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's weird. I don't know why it's picking you up.
Well, anyway, I'll just keep going. So that's unfortunate. But I haven't seen it, so I'm not going to make my own judgment on it. But and I want to watch it, but I want to watch it with my wife. And the problem is, my wife is absolutely noped out. when it comes to Star Wars. And it's really unfortunate because, in truth, she's a bigger Star Wars fan than I am. I'm more of a Trekkie, really. But I love Star Wars, though. And I know a lot about it because, role playing in it and video games and stuff like that. And it's really sad, though, because it's the first movie she ever went to cinema to see. So it's always been important to her. And that Last Jedi just absolutely turned her off, man. So I'm kind of waiting to be able to watch it with my wife because that's something we can enjoy together. So I'm being patient with it. But all I can say is I hope it helps to kind of heal some of the damage that has been done. But unfortunately, from what I'm hearing, it's not doing that. So but that's about all I can say, seeing as I haven't watched it. So
Yeah, yeah. I've heard similar things, but I from my limited point of view with people talking about it online and such, and the different articles is it is kind of mixed, but it's definitely in favor of. So there's more people liking it and actually saying that this is a good direction and this is a good move forward for the Disney Star Wars. So I haven't seen it yet, but everything I've heard and everything that just the limited like little teasers and trailers and things like that, it all looks really good. And I like those kind of Conan stories. I used to read those when I was a kid. The nomadic character that's he's not really good and he's not really bad. It just depends on the situation. And they're just nomadic and they just get into adventures in these different places, different towns. You get to meet different cast of characters. So I've always liked those kind of stories, and it sounds like The Mandalorian is that type of story. So moving forward a little bit, I know that Disney has mentioned, is it an Obi-Wan is like a young like Ian McGregor or something Obi-Wan series? Is that right?
Actually, it's with Ian McGregor.
yeah, it's not young. It's the space between him dropping Luke off and then getting together with Luke in the New Hope.
Oh, okay. So do you think and this is all going to be Disney Plus as well, right?
Yes.
Okay, so just quickly, do we think based on The Mandalorian that this Obi-Wan series has some promise?
I don't know either way.
I kind of felt that they might go with the Clone Wars though, Dragon, with the stuff that Obi-Wan did in there with the Mandalorian leader there, the lady.
I'm just saying I don't know with regards to this show because it could go good, it could go bad, but I can't say without knowing anything about the production. And I don't know anything about the production.
Do you know who's behind it? Is it Jon Favreau? I forget the other guy's name.
Dave Filoni.
Dave Filoni. Yeah, are those guys involved?
I heard it's Ryan Johnson.
Ah!
I'm joking. Don't kill me.
So no one. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just thinking. You mentioned Favreau and Filoni, and a lot of people like what Filoni's done because of the Clone Wars, which Dragon was talking about earlier, and it's a great show. And of course, Favreau is well known. He's become quite popular, and of course, he's doing The Mandalorian here. And of course, we're going to get into this, I know, but there's been a lot of noise that he's going to take over for Kathleen Kennedy, which I think a lot of people are like, yeah, that would be better. And for me, it's interesting, and I mentioned this before the show, but I'll mention it here again. For me, it might be useful having Favreau in charge because my wife really likes him, right? Particularly from his movie The Chef.
What is this about? Is this about appeasing Junko, or what are we doing?
No, dude, no. I'm trying to understand. I have a rolling theme going on here because my wife is one of the kindest, nicest people you'll ever meet. And I don't mean that just because she's my wife. It's because that's her nature. And if she's been put off by the nonsense they've been doing, then and if you can find a way to pull her back, you're going to pull a lot of people back. That's the point I'm trying to make with it. And seeing is a lot of people have a love for Favreau, a lot of, honest love because he seems like a good guy. My point being is putting him in charge might be the smart move simply to try to pull people back into the flock like my wife.
Yeah, he's more
not so
universally
sure.
loved. He's definitely not a divisive director like Ryan Johnson or even J.J. Abrams.
Or Kennedy, yeah.
Yeah. So there is potential there. There is a future. And also, I don't know if this is still on the books, but that Kevin Feige has been announced as possibly being one of the heads of the new Star Wars as well. So oh, go ahead.
I'd say any one of what you guys listed, all those directors don't have the right directing ability or whatever you want to call it to actually do Ben Kenobi. Like the feeling that you would have for Ben Kenobi isn't the same that you would have for Mandalorian. And if Favreau is in charge of the Mandalorian and this is what we get is this comedy type thing, that doesn't work with Kenobi.
That's a fair point.
Yeah, and none of the others will do it right either if they go with whatever we've seen so far. So it has to be an unknown to do it right.
Well, if those guys are overseeing, they might understand their shortcomings and then just hire the appropriate people. Because obviously, Jon Favreau is not the hands-on director, and I seriously doubt if Kevin Feige is going to direct any of these episodes. But I think that they've shown good leadership and have been able to put good people in these different places. So I think as far as damage control of Star Wars and moving forward, I think that those are at least potentially good, good people to help move these franchise ideas forward.
Yeah. And the just to respond to the Kevin Feige thing, I have a feeling, it's my gut feeling. I don't have any evidence, obviously, but my gut feeling on the Feige thing is this: the dude has made them billions of dollars. He's been really successful. He loves Star Wars, and he asked, "Can I make a movie?" And they're like, yeah, sure, Mr. Feige." I kind of think that's the extent of it. Haven't seen any evidence whatsoever anywhere that states that Kevin Feige is going to be in charge of anything in Star Wars. And in all honesty, they can't have him doing that anyway. He's got enough responsibility. He's been put fully in charge of Marvel.
Yeah, it seems like a little bit of a conflict of interest, but at least the news is promising. The guy knows how to run a multi-dimensional, universe. So, you have that at least. I was one of those guys, just to be totally honest, when I heard Kathleen Kennedy was going to be like the extension of like George, so she was going to be like the mouthpiece and basically represent Star Wars and George Lucas to Disney, I was hopeful. I cannot believe how quickly the wheels came off of that. Not to back up too much with the negative, but holy shit, man, that was insane. Or the force is feminine or whatever her thing was and all that stuff.
Now, here's the thing, though, Art. Do you think that's actually her doing, or is she simply following direction as she has done her entire career?
That is a good question, and especially with Bob Iger's new book, and that there's speculation that he's going to throw his hat in the ring for president of the United States. So if you think about it, the guy is kind of writing agenda and policy with Disney as far as trying to change the way we think about, the world in general. Maybe, there's a puppet master and she's just the puppet,
Yeah, she's a corporate girl. She's always been that. Why would she make this heel turn all of a sudden? It's odd. It doesn't make sense. It's not her nature. If you know anything about Kathleen Kennedy, you go research her. She is absolutely a yes woman. She's a corporate lady.
Yeah, from what I hear is that she was really good at just getting things done. Like that's like her strength. She wasn't necessarily creative or any of those other things. They said she couldn't even really take good notes, like in meetings and stuff. So she wasn't even good at the secretarial stuff, but she was good at like carrying things through and making them happen. So that's always what I heard her strengths were.
Just remember, anything that she does, the higher ups are allowing her to do it. So it's not just her.
Well, my favorite irony about the whole Kathleen Kennedy Bob Iger thing is that Bob Iger, with his agenda-driven, policies, not just with the company of Disney, but also in the movies being carried through, is that he almost made it to the point where he couldn't throw Kathleen Kennedy under the bus, because if he did, he'd look like a hypocrite. So, he built her up and let, this whole, the Force is female and, all these things, let that go and let it happen. And if what we're saying is true, that he's the puppet master, she's just the puppet, then he also created a situation where he couldn't get rid of the puppet, otherwise he'd look really bad.
Yeah, I don't even know if I agree with that though, Art. And don't run out to lynch me in the town square, by the way. But I really think if you pay attention and look at this whole debacle as it's been taking place, I think Kathleen Kennedy is just taking orders and following those orders to the letter. I don't think there's even a situation where she's gotten out of control. I think all of this has been directed to her, and she's done exactly what she said. And if you go back and look at a lot of her comments and a lot of things she said, she's reading off a playbook, dude. She's absolutely reading off that playbook. Now, the question comes down to, did she write the playbook? And my argument is maybe not, man.
Well, then my argument still, I agree with you. My argument still applies, though, is like anything that Bob Iger does at this point, if he fires her, then he's going to look like a hypocrite.
Yeah, sure.
That's all I was trying to say. So if she's going to stay the mouthpiece, and she's just, the puppet, then how much longer does she have? You know what I mean? And how's Bob Iger going to let her go and still save face?
Yeah.
That's going to be a challenge for him.
Yeah. The sad thing about it all is that it really doesn't matter what they do with Star Wars, because it's almost impossible to actually mess up long term. You can mess it up for, well, these guys are in charge and they made a bad movie. Moving forward, they're going to be in charge, so you probably won't be a fan of that. But the minute that they're off, Disney can just be like, look, they're off the show. Now come look at it. And everyone will come back and be like, yeah, this is great, if it's actually good. So you can't really damage the franchise all that much.
I don't know. Go ahead, Art.
I was going to say, I pretty much agree just in the long term, because one big hit or one big major departure, as far as I guess when I say departure, I mean a hit. It can change everything overnight. Like if you have another Star Wars movie or some Star Wars related thing that comes out and it's really, really strong and it's really good, it could change things overnight. The only thing that is permanent is that they made a decision to kill off the three principal characters. Which we will never really get back. They can do prequels and they can hire other actors and actresses and stuff to play these characters, but they'll never get that lightning that they never were able to capture in a bottle again. That is permanent, and that will never happen again. And these things happen once in a lifetime. These guys are getting older. If you were going to do it, this was the time to do it, and they blew it, man. That's one thing they'll never get back.
Yeah, and I disagree a lot, Dragon, because that stiletto shot in the chink of the armor that is Star Wars was deep, brother. That's deep. That Last Jedi is serious business as far as killing a franchise. I don't know that Star Wars can come back, dude. I really don't know.
Yeah, but I'm just going to use an analogy, and I don't want to oversell it, but have you heard any of the new Ghostbusters conversation or any of the articles? That new Ghostbusters looks and sounds really good. I mean, just the stills and just the articles I've read, it looks like they're moving in the right direction with that. So if that movie is really well done, it can overshadow the debacle. I forget the director's name.
Feig.
Yeah. Feig. Paul Feig. Yeah, I mean, we could just kind of erase that from history. So I think one good movie one good franchise like a TV series or something like that, I think can fundamentally change as long as you don't follow it up with a piece of crap. You know what I mean? Like you still have to kind of follow it up with something reasonably good, if not better than what you started with. Just
I mean, even if you mess up the timeline or the story that's with the current characters, it's okay because you have enough of a lore legacy type thing that you can just move it to a different time period within their lore, and it's perfectly fine. Because people are like different periods within the Star Wars universe.
Yeah, no, they should have done the old old Republic from the beginning. To be honest with you, but the Ghostbuster thing is a little bit comparing apples to oranges, I think, because to be fair, with Ghostbusters, the original movie was the entire franchise really. There's a bunch of little stuff that had success here or there, but it's really a single movie, and it's really one of the best movies ever made. To be fair, what he did with that, excuse me, but to comment on that a little further, what you've heard about the new movie coming up. It looks like it might be fun, but this is the movie coming out. Art is Ghostbusters Nickelodeon version. It's a kids flick. It's not an adult flick.
Oh, I haven't heard that. I didn't get the tone. So it's not
a kids flick
on tone with the original.
No, not at all. It's Ghostbusters meets Goonies.
Oh, okay. I know that they
could be great, but I mean, it's just not. It's not that.
They have a younger cast. I know that they're like it's like a legacy story, and I believe that the kids are the descendant of Egon, right? Like they're the grandkids of Egon, and so then they find the Ecto-1, and then they hear about like the I guess there's some kind of spooks or some kind of ghosts.
Spooks.
That's what they call ghosts, spooks.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like what they're doing is there's a group of ghost hunters like they do on those TV shows with the cameras and stuff like that. They get themselves in actual trouble, and these kids go to go and help them. I'm not dissing it at all. It sounds like it's fun. I mean, it's cool, but it's not our Ghostbusters. It is a very different thing, and maybe that's a smart move. Maybe they should take it back to a more for kids and see if they can't find a revenue stream there.
Well, they had the Ghostbusters TV series that was very, very successful, and the toy line that came out. So, they have been able to do that. I guess just the point that I'm trying to make is that if you can follow it up with something very, very strong, it can change things overnight, the entire franchise and the way people are looking at it. As far as like healing the fan base and getting everybody on the same page. I'm just trying to kind of look forward and see how, potentially, that maybe Star Wars can be resolved or saved. But let me show you the new attraction here, and then we can go through that real quick, and then we'll sum up like our thoughts.
Rhaegar says, I would argue that because they messed up the canon in the main cast, they cannot match or create the success of the original cast. I completely disagree with simple fact. You got Batman from '89, you got Joker, Jack Nicholson. People said you weren't going to top him. You got Heath Ledger, and now people say you aren't going to top him. So obviously they can create the same magic with different people. It's just a matter of trying and seeing if it works. Maybe they will one day, maybe they won't.
If it connects, that's all. It just matters if it connects. If it resonates with enough people and that it's successful, it can change things. At least for that moment in time, it can change. I mean, it's still, if it's a franchise, you still have to follow it up with something strong that's either as good or better. So it's not it's not going to be just a one and done. Like they're not going to be able to just make one good Star Wars film. They're going to have to make one great Star Wars film and then follow it up with a lot of good Star Wars material. You know what I mean?
Fair point.
And then I think that they could possibly we could get past this moment, this road bump, or what do they call those these little obstacle in the road here. So let's go.
Can you highlight Nick C's comment real quick for me?
Sure. Is it this one?
Yep. The end of the comments was interesting to me, but I'll read the whole thing. It just wasn't The Last Jedi. From the beginning, Kathleen Kennedy killed the EU, the expanded universe, and replaced actual writers with incompetent Twitter hacks. Actual writers with incompetent Twitter hacks. What a truthful statement from Nick C. This is a problem we've seen a lot across the board. These writers don't know what they're doing. They're being pulled off of Twitter and the internet. They don't bother to do their research. They're absolute hacks. It's a
Yeah.
problem, right?
Yeah.
It's a
Well,
big
somebody,
problem.
I think it was Nerdrotic or something, was saying that what's passing for journalism and things like that, like these Twitter and these different people, they're not even really true journalists. A lot of them are just like cutting and pasting articles and basically it's just propaganda that they're throwing out there. So I don't know. I mean, is he saying literally that these Twitter people are being hired to write scripts?
Oh yeah, they literally are. We know this. We've seen them been pulled off to write Marvel comic books. We've seen them pulled off for movies. It's literally Twitter. Other places too, but literally Twitter. And
I
these
know
people
that-
have no experience.
Right.
But yet,
I know
there they are.
Comic books have been recruiting those, but as Hollywood, what's an example of like a screenwriter in Hollywood or a movie?
I can't give you one offhand.
Yeah, because that would be absolutely be frightening. Comic books is one thing, but oh my gosh, like movies, hundreds of millions of dollars worth of movies. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, but it goes toward the general thing that they're thinking in this woke culture, is the fact that you need to be the right color, you need to be the right gender, and you need to be the right whatever fluidity to write a certain character, and they want representation. See, the problem is when you talk about equality, you have the equality of opportunity and the equality of outcome. And we all agree, we all should agree, that the equality of opportunity is what we should be living our lives by. But they don't want that. They want the equality of outcome. And they've been doing everything they can to make it happen. And they don't care if the person is talented enough to do the job. That is not the point. They have to do it because it is the right thing to do from their point of view. And of course, it's not. But that's the problem we're dealing with, is the equality of outcome.
So what do I need to be to write a Chewbacca film?
Chewbacca, you need to be a Wookiee.
You have to be a dog, a long-haired dog.
Am I wrong?
No, well, I don't know. I do know that Marvel has hired some, people that aren't really qualified to write their comic books, and I think some of them are Twitter or Twitter sensations or whatever you want to call them. I can't think of any of the names right off the top of my head, but I know that they do with comics, but I have no idea of like movies. I know that they want representation. I know that Hollywood is going, like, if you're going to have, African American characters, you have to have an African American writer, and so on and so on,
Right.
Which is absolutely ridiculous because there's so many. If you're making a diverse film, there's so many diversified characters. If you're just one person, but you're writing many different races, then would each race have to write that character? You have a white guy, so then would a white guy write that character? If you have like an African American woman, would you have to get an African American woman to write that character? Like, it's nonsense. And then what happens if you have like if you have an alien or a character that doesn't even exist in the real world? Who's representing that character? It gets ridiculous.
They'll default to one of their pyramid, because they have a pyramid of privilege, right? And all of us here, we're on the bottom of that privilege, or at least I am. But so the top of that privilege pyramid would be a black lesbian woman in a wheelchair.
Okay, so that would be the default.
That's the default.
For an alien.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
For an alien, or the catch-all, right? For any characters that don't fit any other description. I
think we should just be extreme about it. If you have a blue-eye, blonde hair, white male, you have to be a blue-eye, blonde hair, white male.
Yeah, because it's the only way you can truly write that character with any kind of realistic angst, because you've lived it, right?
And he has to be a World War II vet, and he has to be from the 1930s, and
Yeah, you have to almost have to cast a writer with the same life that the character had to have complete and true representation.
For me, I agree with Christopher Priest. I think I like his take on it because he wasn't doing any kind of writing and stuff because they kept giving him black characters just because he's a black guy. And he's like, I can write other stuff too. And you know what? I'm not going to write anything until you give me an opportunity to do something that's not black. And he stayed out for a while until DC gave him an opportunity again, right?
Hey, don't ruin my legal defense against, the courts. I can say that you're not a jury of my peers because you do not know my experiences. Therefore, you're not my peers.
I apologize.
Yeah, and now Christopher Priest is writing Black Lightning.
Back, yeah, right. But I'm just saying that I agree with the sentiment of his point, right?
Oh no, I was just kidding. He's not writing Black Lightning, but yeah, I totally agree. It becomes ridiculous and asinine. A writer can write characters. That's why they're writers. They can project, like how this character feels, what this character is going through, male, female, alien, black, white, Asian, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's so asinine to think that the human condition isn't universal. Like you can't like somehow because we're different ethnic backgrounds or religion or whatever, that somehow there is no commonality. Like each one of us lives completely unique lifestyles from the other, which is totally untrue. Like most movies and good stories resonate from commonality. So you can reach the biggest demographic and make the most money from just a business point of view, but also where you can resonate and connect with people, because those are the things that connect. The more universal truths, the more universal things that we all go through. Those are the things that connect. Those things are what unites, and those are the things that people want to see. They don't want to see representation. They don't want to see something that is so alien to them that they can't even relate to it, or that the only people that can relate to it is 10% of the population, which is really weird.
I mean, I've never lit myself on fire because I was so high on cocaine, but I really relate to Richard Pryor and his skit with that.
Oh, Rich Pryor's awesome, dude.
And Durakin, if you had to write a Richard Pryor movie, you could probably project yourself of what it's like to, be high on cocaine and, be on fire.
Yeah, sure. Probably.
But keep in mind, the real kicker to this whole thing that you don't hear anyone talking about, because they're always everyone's responding. Everything is reactionary to what an SJW is doing, or for them to the opposite. But you got to keep in mind the opposite side of this thing is at one time, one side of their mouth they're saying what we're talking about. The other side of their mouth they say we're all exactly the same. There's no difference.
Exactly.
It's like, make up your damn mind.
They're hypocrites. None of it works from a logical or practical way. These are not universal truths that they're trying to sell us. These are lies. These are fundamental lies that they are trying to sell us. And if we think for ourselves or we speak out against it, then the name calling begins. And that is, why Star Wars has failed. Just to try to bring it back to Star Wars. That's why this new Star Wars has failed, because this character, Rey, no one can relate to her. No one can relate to that character at all, because there's nothing there to relate to, period.
That's true.
There's no character there. There's no universal truth. There's nothing. All it is superficial fluff. That's all it is. And, they try.
I relate to her because I'm perfect, so,
Well, you relate to
her. Get him, Dragon. Get him. Yeah. Well, let me ask a question from The Force Awakens. Obviously we're not going to talk about that stupid Jedi movie. But from The Force Awakens, which I think we all agree is watchable. From that movie, who was your favorite character? Who was the best character in that movie?
Finn.
Yeah, damn right, it was Finn.
It's Finn.
And then it is. And what did Rian Johnson do? He made him a clown and basically threw him away.
Yeah, well, he's that's weird because he's not a white male, but he is a male. So there was a lot of male bashing in there. So I guess if you're black and you're a male in a Rian Johnson film, then you still get bashed.
Yeah, I liked Finn. I mean, I think everyone liked Finn. We would have liked to see where he was going. I would have liked to see him become the Jedi, him have become the hero. That would have been cool because they didn't give me anything to bite into with Rey, nothing at all. But Finn, I was like, oh, okay, let's follow. We'll see what this guy does.
And to be
But no.
honest, they would have got just as many virtue signal points as if they went with Rey.
Yep,
because
Okay,
the thing is,
Here's-
he would be the main lead of a Star Wars film. So you still get the whorish headlines that they were going for. You know what I mean? So they could still do that. But he was a way more complex and interesting character. You know, a stormtrooper, basically a murderer, that grew a conscience, you know, that couldn't do it anymore. And then becomes the hero, the ultimate hero in a Star Wars trilogy. That's pretty groundbreaking, man.
That's pretty awesome.
Here's
Yeah,
the
that
fun
would be
thing.
great.
Just like completely remove Rey from Star Wars altogether and focus on Finn. Just erase all her movie parts. What happens? What's missing?
Nothing really. I mean, other than one of the best beats in Force Awakens, just as far as emotion and things that resonated and connected, was Han Solo and Rey. There was the father-daughter thing that was happening there, and to be honest, it was the most depth that whole damn movie had, and it was kind of underplayed, but it was always there. It actually had more resonance than even the Kylo Han Solo connection. And I think it's all because Harrison Ford is a kick-ass, actor, and he brought it into those scenes.
But he was working under handicap in that movie because they basically took Han Solo, who had followed the journey in the original trilogy from being the scoundrel, right, to becoming the hero, right. And then they took that entire progression that was done, and he was finished. He was a hero. He's now part of the new thing, right? They took that and they turned him into a deadbeat father, a useless guy, running around at freaking 70 years old, doing nothing, trying to be a smuggler again. They destroyed that. So he's working on that handicap, and he still brought it out, which is amazing.
And the funny thing is, what if they didn't do that and they had him as an example to Rey, what she could become?
Yeah,
because they come from the same background, pretty much.
Well, also, I thought if you were going to kill Han Solo, you need to kill him at the end of the second movie or in the third act, which would have been the third movie, because then we would have got to see a progression of a character, and we would got to see how his legacy would live on versus just that short kind of 2 acts that you got in The Force Awakens. It's we could armchair this to the moon. It boggles my mind how many missteps they took with that new franchise, because I've heard people talk like this online, and every one of the ideas is a million times better than the stuff J.J. Abrams brought and that Rian Johnson brought, and we're just guys on YouTube, you know what I mean? Like, and we're coming up with way better ideas.
Think about if they follow the progression that was given to us from the original trilogy. You have this new order threat, right? And Han Solo is the general. He's a captain of one of the big capital ships for the New Republic, and he's dealing with this threat that's coming in as a general on a ship, as he should be. And there's some situation creates where he needs to make a sacrifice to save the day. He gets on the Millennium Falcon with Chewie, and they sacrifice themselves for everybody else.
Yeah, that could have been like the hero's way out, in either the end of the second movie or the beginning of the third, the first act in the third movie. Another thing that I really wanted to see is Leia's a princess, and so what does that do to Han? Is he kind of royalty now? Do they inherit anything, from Alderaan and all that kind of royalty thing? So I thought what would have been the best way to open Force Awakens is that Leia is on her deathbed, because I already knew that Carrie Fisher didn't really have the chops to pull it off. Nothing against her, R.I.P. I have the utmost respect for her as an actress and everything, but like she's on her deathbed, and then she says, there's something and she has Han come in, and that's her husband. They're married. They're not estranged and nothing like that. And so she starts talking about like making it right and all this other stuff. And he's like, yeah, but there's all this stuff. And then you hear, wait. So there's like this emergency, and there's like, we got to get you guys to safety or whatever. And then she's like, it's going to be okay, Han. You need to go. You need to find him or her or whatever this premonition was. And so she hands him the lightsaber, right? And so then you all of a sudden this castle, this royal whatever palace is under attack, and it's getting laser blasted and all this stuff. And you see this epic battle, right? And then you see in the ship that's heading the battle is Kylo Ren. Like he's firing on his own legacy, his parents, his home, and he's destroying the palace where he was raised. And then Han barely gets out of there with his life. So then you set up that they had a life, that they were a loving couple, and that they kind of, inspired people, and they were worthy of people to follow them. But they followed them kind of as a king and a queen kind of thing. Not officially, not the corny kind of, with like where they have like the what are those things? Their little hats.
Crowns.
Their crowns. Yeah.
See, I'd like it better if if Leia was on the planet where Rey is, and she's just randomly there for some reason, probably scouting for information on the First Order, and comes across Rey, and she takes Rey on as an apprentice because she's learned something about the Force, having grown up with Luke around, and having been in the military to some degree with the rebellion. And you have Han off as the general of the New Republic, and then as the movie gets to the end, you have Leia die in the same way that Obi-Wan dies. But all during that, she's going, yeah, my brother is like this. The Last Jedi is like this. You have these powers. You need to go find him. And then you have Han come in and go, yeah, I know where he is. Come with me.
Yeah, no, they're all better ideas. And I understand not speaking ill of the dead. Our generation still respects that art. But to be fair, all those guys went on to successful careers except her. And the reason why is because she was a drug fiend who ruined her life.
Yeah, I was trying to be very respectful. But yeah, I just didn't think that she had the chops to be in a trilogy. And some of the behind the scenes stuff I saw, she seemed very trepidatious about it as well. Yeah. So, I don't think she was going to be able to bring much to the franchise anyways. That's why I kind of had the idea. If you killed her off in the very beginning of the first act, then she still has like a ton of impact, and you're establishing a backstory, and you're establishing that those two had a life. Han and Leia had a life. You know what I mean? Like in this one, they're estranged, and they had like this kid that went bad and all this other stuff. And like you said, then Han looks like a dirt, like a deadbeat dad. And then Leia like guilt trips him and sends him to his death. It's.
And I don't think Carrie Fisher would have disagreed with you, because based on her one-woman show, she's pretty much makes it clear that she accepts that she was a crackhead for a long time.
Yeah, she was. No, I mean, I'm just being honest about it, and so was she. Kudos to her. But these are all great ideas. I mean, we're putting out. Of course, they're just our pontificating. They really screwed that up really bad. We could have done something really cool with them, and it really insults me that they decided to do that to Han Solo, and it ticked off so many people. And here's my question for everybody, including the chat: why is it that Hollywood is so damn determined to break homes?
Yeah,
we see it all the time.
I thought that the same. All the Disney cartoons, there's always a broken home. There's always it's like
Andy Griffith.
Yeah, they're trying to show like that. Oh, guess what? Life isn't the family unit. Well, this is stuff that we're supposed to aspire to. So if the reality is that everybody's from a broken home, let's get the flip side and let's try to inspire people to see what a good home would be like. Wouldn't that be in the fantasy versus
the
showing
Waltons
dysfunctional? Yeah, But
Of course, you could have Han Solo and Leia just yelling at each other and be like, "This is the new Star Wars."
it'd be like honeymooners, like they're like, "To the moon, Leia." But yeah, let me. We're gonna go out on something. I want to get your feedback on this. This is the new Galaxy's Edge ride, the Rise of the Resistance, and I think this shows promise. And I'd like to see what you guys think of it. I don't know if I'm gonna get. I'm not already. I'm not sure if I'll get popped for this because it's not quite a trailer. That's a robot, you guys. That's pretty cool.
That's not CG.
No, this is a ride. This is live. People
Holy
are watching
dude.
this. It's an attraction at Disneyland.
And Admiral Akbar is getting some respect finally.
Yeah, it's a pretty simple.
So this
robot, too.
is somebody on a ride videotaping with their phone.
That's pretty cool though, dude.
Yeah, this is an attraction. This is crazy.
That looks like they're on strings, but it looks good.
Yeah, imagine you're like 8-10-year-old kid, man. That's badass, dude.
Oh, I'm going next week. This is crazy. You're going into the hangar on a. Yeah, so now we got some audio animatronics here.
On a Death Star, not the Death Star.
Right.
Star, yeah.
That's a
I think
shame that they
it's
did
the
that.
Star Destroyer, yeah. So then
Good point,
the ride vehicles are driven by R2 units.
Nick is yelling at me for demonetizing you multiple times today.
With well, you know what? So far, you've managed to be consistent with demonetizing the Pontificator shows.
Sweet. I should get a trophy.
It's your gift. Hey, if we're still going strong this time next year, I'll buy you something. I'll get you a trophy made.
Sweet. I will have to make a superhero character called the Demonetizer.
A demonetizer. But this is a ride, you guys. This is
That looks fun.
This looks pretty nuts.
Yeah, that looks cool.
Are those actors?
Yeah.
Or are they
imagine.
holograms?
I think it's a screen, yeah.
Oh, really? Oh, wow. This is kind of cool, dude. Of course, the reason they got in so much trouble in the Galaxy's Edge isn't about this kind of stuff. It's because they were overcharging for everything, and people are really angsty about The Last Jedi.
Yeah, you're in the middle of a battle, and you actually see the hits.
Yeah. Is he going to move? Is he going to move?
There's Finn. There they are. Get them. They lower the cannons. Look at that. That's crazy.
That's cool. Yeah. It's clever using the screens like that, though, huh? And look, you got the blaster hits up here. Yeah.
I mean, it's good, but it's just slightly off so that if you have a good eye, you can notice it. But if you're not looking for it, you wouldn't notice that those are screens.
Yeah, there's always. I mean, if you think about the sheer traffic that these attractions, that people go through these rides, this is nothing short of amazing as far as I'm concerned. But
oh yeah, that's a screen. You're telling me that's a screen?
No, those are two robots right there. Yeah, with the screen behind them.
Are you sure they're robots? No, those aren't.
Those are robots. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Holy dude. This looks really cool. I want to go too. Can Uncle Art take me to Star Wars in Disney, please?
Yeah, come down. We'll have a sleepover, and then we'll go the Galaxy's Edge.
All right.
Well, look at this. It's a lightsaber coming through the ceiling.
Oh, that's awesome, dude.
Okay, I know how they do the rest. I don't know how they do that one.
Look at these. These are cannons firing. You get to go right under them.
You get the cool music, Williams stuff. Yeah, that's awesome, dude. This looks like a lot of fun.
See, now, isn't this kind of annoying that you see all the CGI in the shows and the movies when they can do this all with practical effects?
Look at this. Oh, my gosh. Look at the battle damage.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. That's a nice touch. And they have been getting a couple good hits. Mandalorian is overall positive. It's not an overall negative. You also have the Fallen Jedi Fallen Order, a video game, which is doing very well. People are loving on that. And, so there's not all negative. There is some positive.
That was a live action robot right there. That's pretty convincing.
Can you go back to that robot real quick?
Yeah. Here we go. The Kylo bot. There's no
CG to me. No,
He's using
they
his
don't got the
Jedi power
movement stuff.
sucking you in.
That's a really good robot, dude. That is a good robot.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you could tell the feet are locked. I mean, you can tell, but that's really good, man. I've never seen
escape pods. You guys watch this. Okay, now you're entering an escape pod, and you get to see the escape pods across from you. Oh shit! Wait a minute. We're gonna have. Oh my gosh! You're getting bumped.
Millions
I
of refugees
like
need our
messing with
help.
people.
Here we go. Here we go.
Yeah, so you're in a drop pod. You're actually in a simulator right now, and it's simulating a drop and all these moves. You get to see the pod drop. Look at that. And now you're dropping back into Galaxy's Edge. And you crash land right, boom. How the hell did they do this? This is insane. So now you leave the pod.
What's this called?
It's called Rise of Resistance.
Rise of the Resistance. Oh, yeah. This looks like a hit to me, dude. It's certainly better than Space Mountain.
And look, there's Akbar in one of the drop ships. And that's all robotic. That's a robot right there. That's pretty cool. I don't know, man. I think between the Mandalorian and excuse me, and this new attraction, I think Star Wars is showing some promise. So, what do you guys think of this?
Pretty cool.
I think it's really cool, dude.
No,
Yeah,
cool.
it's a freaking ride. Like,
It looks like a walkthrough, right? You're walking through it.
Well, the drop when you go up, when you're in the ship before you hit the tractor beam, you're actually standing in that transport. So you're standing up. And so, where you see Akbar, and then you see, I think is his name Mind Numb or Nine Numb? He's piloting that shuttle before you get caught in the tractor beam. So there's a lot more that I didn't even show you guys. There's like a stormtrooper room. There's like 50 stormtroopers in there. There's like TIE fighters. It's like a hangar bay. There's TIE fighters along the wall and everything. It's nuts, man.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I think it looks cool. And just to add on to what you said a little bit, Art, you talk about Mandalorians being positive. This thing is cool. We have the Jedi Fallen Order video game, which is doing really well. Because trust me, the Star Wars video games have taken a hard hit over the past few years because of EA. But there's also some other stuff if you want to go a little deeper. The comic books have been pretty good. People have been joining them. And you also have the board game world because Fantasy Flight has put out a bunch of board games that have been very successful with Star Wars. So there are a lot of positives. I mean, I just named 5. So
yeah, it's just the main, like the big, media ones are just the ones that are tanking. Yeah. But do you think Todd hasn't spoken in a while? Todd, do you think that Disney can course correct with Star Wars?
Star Wars, the cinematic universe, or Star Wars, that theme park, or what are we talking?
I guess just Star Wars as a franchise, because right now I think even Galaxy's Edge was getting a lot of bad publicity. So it seemed like Star Wars across the board was getting hit, with a lot of.
I'll say this. You know what? I guess the whole world has to kind of course correct. Because it's not just Star Wars, right? It's not just like are you really seriously going to push a whole movie of female Avengers? Is that really your plan? I know it's been said, but man, do you not look at it and go, this may not be a good idea. Look at
Well, it
that.
also depends on how they do it. I mean, if they do the woke and they do it like at the cost of males, and it just becomes like what was it, Charlie's Angels, where they just male bash to make the women look good, then I say it's going to be a failure, and then they're doubled down on their agenda. But if it's an all female team and it's done well, and it's not at the cost of any other group of people, then I'm all for it. I'm not against like a team of super women, you know.
No, put
Yeah.
them in tights.
Yeah,
Are you saying you want to see Brie Larson in some really tight tights?
I do not
Yeah.
want to see pancake butt in a tight outfit.
I'll take Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah, she doesn't have
She's
a pancake butt.
So
Don't bring
Zombie
it up.
Scarlet?
What was that? What?
Zombie Scarlett Johansson?
Oh,
No.
I see what your point is. Yeah.
No, we don't.
Fine.
We don't want
Get
that.
that skinny, bony, shooty girl. I guess. Oh well, maybe I don't want him in tights.
I'm sure they can find some hot chicks to fill out a superhero suit. You know.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
What do you mean? You want to see Gwyneth Paltrow?
No, I do not want to see.
Well, no, come on now. Now she's the crazy lady. I get you, but she's a hottie still, man.
I guess as far as like a mom or a housewife, maybe.
Hey, yeah, we're not spring chickens, Art.
Well, you know what? If we're gonna fantasize, why do I want to fantasize about the like a mom, or something, I'm not against moms, but yeah.
I understand. I remove my response.
Let's aim for the for the wall here, man.
Yeah, I get it.
I mean, the Wasp is good.
Well,
And
there's the actress that plays the Wasp. They still have what is it? Scarlet Witch. Yeah, they could flesh out and get a bunch of new actresses in there.
What do you think about
Wait! I gotta post this. Gwen is hot. That's got to be sarcasm, man. Either that or
only when she's lit it on fire.
I think he's talking about Gwyneth Paltrow, right?
Yeah. I think he's talking about Gwyneth Paltrow. Yeah. So I think either that or Chester has a huge fan in Rhaegar Targaryen.
Well, I still think she's hot, dude. I mean, I know, I get it. Before you guys start screaming at me, she's absolutely insane person. I understand that, but I mean, I can deal with crazy on occasion. All right.
I don't know about that type of crazy. That's not the fun kind of crazy. That's the pretentious kind of crazy.
Oh, it's a dude. She's deeply insane when it comes to. She believes in magic, and she's just a crazy lady. Yeah.
As far as like course correction, right? We live in a different age where it seems to be popular to bash on something or kill on something. But it's funny. Make something good. It doesn't matter. It could be woke or it could be whatever. Make it good, and you'll hear about it. You'll know about it. It doesn't matter if it's good. I mean, I'm trying to think of a movie that.
The Joker.
Well, I wouldn't call that a woke movie, but yeah, that
was. No, I mean a good movie that transcended.
Right? You saw how DC tried to play. Like, well, they tried to cover their butt by saying, well, it doesn't really fit into the universe. It's a Joker movie, blah 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 blah. It's not a comic book movie per se. And so they were just saying, hey, if it's great, we'll look good. If it's bad, hey, it's an art house film.
Right.
And guess what? It was a hit. Now let's see if they do something stupid or do something smart.
Exactly. That's what we're talking about with Star Wars. Exactly.
Right.
All right.
What if a month from now, you probably might know, who knows, somebody's working on bringing that character into the DC universe. They're like, there's no need. It stands on its own. Take it from there. You don't have to write that character into the DC universe and go, hey, you know what? We're going to kind of retcon him in as an inspiration to who the Joker became. There's no need for
Actually, it's
that.
very easy to do because
But
his
it's
name
not
is Arthur Fleck.
necessary. It's
Yeah,
not
but-
necessary to touch that and bring it in.
Right.
And
It's not necessary, but these things being what they are, and Hollywood not necessarily wanting to go with a new franchise or something fresh and different, they will do it. But the big question is, will it tarnish that movie? Will it take away from that movie, or will it be as good as the movie or better? See, that's always the thing. Is like you can have like a huge hit, and like I think what you're saying, Todd, is like just keep it a one and done. Then the legacy will always be untarnished. But as soon as you try to tie something into that, and it's not as good or better, then it actually kind of sucks the life out of the movie that you're attaching it to. And that's the problem with these franchise, that they don't understand that next movie has to be as good, if not better, than the movie that basically broke down all the barriers. And you can't just plug something in and then expect it to succeed based on the merits of whatever it is that you're tying it to. Case in point, Star Wars. It had a great reputation. It had good licensing, a good fan base, and they just didn't make a really good product that kept people interested. And if anything, they basically devalued their IP by making bad stuff and then doubling down on it and continuing to build off of bad instead of building off of good.
So let's talk about Superman 4.
Let's not.
Let's not. What's wrong with you, dude?
Okay, I'll let you go as long as we don't go off on a completely utter and different tangent. But go ahead.
No, it's just the same point that you were making. Superman was a good brand. It had Richard Pryor in it.
That was not a good movie, man.
It was horrible.
Exactly.
And it killed the brand. You got the same thing
I
with,
understand where you're going. Yeah.
It did, yeah.
you got the same thing
yeah.
with Batman and Robin and Batman Forever.
Hey, man, bat nipples are awesome.
Bad butts are even better.
Ooh,
Oops.
baby.
Oops.
You know, I do have a TV show idea for Disney if they'd like to hear it. I do.
Okay.
Stick with me now. Stick with me. Here's the premise. We're on Coruscant, and it's Barney Miller, and Abe Vigoda is a calamari.
Boom, ba ba boom, ba ba boom, ba ba boom, ba ba boom.
That was a great show. Now, come on, tell me that wouldn't be badass.
And that's one of the best grooves for a TV show, man. I love that.
That was great, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it was a good show. But I'm serious. Well, I mean, I'm making a joke with Barney Miller and Abe Vigoda. But the point being is, why don't you give us something more practical and detached? You know, go to Coruscant. You know, everyone knows it's a very fascinating place. Go there and have a detective story. Do a cop drama. I mean, come on.
Well, I've said it before, and the problem with Star Wars is that it's called Star Wars.
Yeah,
there's war. So the idea always has to be centered around some kind of war. Otherwise, it's not really Star Wars. So it becomes kind of like, how far do you get away from the core idea of that there's a war as a backdrop to the story?
Yeah, that's
you know
fair.
what I mean? Before you start changing the idea too much. So in essence, it kind of is limiting. So you always have to keep it somehow, with some kind of war in the backdrop,
Yeah.
No,
Rhaegar just says no. Like a
Married with Children. Do you think
Come on.
you could do
I would love that, Chester, with like a cool bass line, and then go Star Wars.
Yeah.
You're like dun 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 da da dun da 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 da.
That's a great theme song. Sorry, Dragon. Go ahead, man. We're old dudes reminiscing. Go ahead.
And we're musicians.
True.
You-
Yeah.
Do you think you could do the establishment of the Jedi Order, that storyline, without
Ooh,
like
that
within
might be
the
interesting. Yeah.
thing? Because it technically has nothing to do with wars.
You could. I mean, the thing is, as long as you can see where it's going and how it ties into Star Wars, either like, the earlier stuff or build off of the later stuff, as long as it kind of is either building towards war or has war in the backdrop, I think it
I
can.
mean, it would be a science team exploring like what the Force is, and then slowly going into madness.
The thing is,
It's pretty much what happens.
I think you can do TV like with the Disney Plus, like The Mandalorian. I think you can still do stuff like that, but like theatrically, have those be Star Wars movies. Like they're big, epic, and there's a war involved. So you always remind people that that is the IP, that there's a war, but that there's also these other universe and these other characters that exist within that world. And sometimes we can see how war affects those characters, but the emphasis isn't on the war. But theatrically speaking, you always have your big Star Wars movie.
Well, you can reference it, right? Kind of like the Netflix Marvel shows did. They didn't talk about the movie franchise directly, but it was always referenced in the background, right, on posters or newspaper articles. You could do like that too. You're keeping the war situation happening within the drama you're telling. And I cannot believe Todd let me hang it. I know you like Barney Miller, dude. It's not like I referenced Welcome Back Carter or something. I mean, come on.
No,
Carter?
like Barney Miller. I can't. Look, you're going back to a time when I don't think I could sit here and say, "Oh, I saw every episode of Barney Miller," because I have no clue. It was kind of like
Dude, I even watched Fish, baby.
Yeah,
That was a spinoff, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it was, dude. Abe Pagoda, yeah.
those talking about my bedtime. You know what I mean?
All right, fine, Todd.
But
He's trying to distance himself. He's trying to make himself seem younger. I get it.
Barney
Young
Miller
man.
was a good show.
It was a great show.
Fish wasn't a good show.
Okay.
Todd just threw you under the bus and me. Thanks, Todd.
Jeez.
I'm gonna go watch Andy Griffin now.
Hey, well,
I'm gonna
that was a
go
good show.
fishing. I'm gonna go fishing with Andy.
Yeah.
I
Well,
like
anyway,
the fishing in the opening here in LA. It's just like a little aqueduct that they went down there. It's not even really a lake or anything. It's just like a small little pond, but they made it seem like it's a lake.
yeah, countryside. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's just like a what do you call it? Aqueduct, where like if the dam overflows or whatever, they just kind of spill water out there.
A drainage channel.
Yeah, drainage channel. Yeah, nothing big time, nothing that cool. So I think we're kind of a little bit optimistic.
Done.
Hey, DeWolf is here.
What's that?
DeWolf is here. 2 hours late, but he's here
I don't see
I
him.
don't see DeWolf.
in the chat.
Wait a minute. I don't see no.
Where? I don't see him.
Wait a minute. Are you in the
Oh,
future?
yeah. No, it's on the other side. It's not on our side yet.
Oh, okay.
Look at these handsome guys. Yeah, thank you very much, DeWolf.
Yeah, we miss you, brother. Yeah, it would have been interesting to get your take on those Star Wars.
Yeah, he's a Star Wars aficionado.
He
Well,
is. Yeah.
We can revisit this. There's no shortage of or Star Wars conversations that we can have. But yeah, after looking at that ride at Galaxy's Edge at Disneyland, and then from what I've heard about The Mandalorian, I think there's more people that are fans of The Mandalorian, even like people that feel like they were checking out of the Star Wars franchise. It's bringing them back. So I think between those two things, it looks promising. We'll see how the third movie, if that's going to just be such a negative and cast this shade over the two good things that they have going right now.
Have they made back their purchasing cost
On what?
on Star Wars? It was like $4 billion, right?
Oh,
And they
no
have-
way. I don't think they
No,
have.
I don't think so. Yeah.
No, I don't think they have.
Well, let me ask you that. So this ride was just added to. This makes it what, 2 rides? You got the Millennium Falcon ride and then this ride.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So because I mean, everyone that showed, why would you open with one ride? Everyone that showed videos, it seemed like this is like a museum with a ride. It's like going to a museum that has a merry-go-round.
Yeah, they just wanted to sell merchandise, dude. That was the main thing.
I've heard a lot of behind the scenes stuff on Disney, and they're slaves to the shareholders, and they have to show quarterly profits. And from what I hear, that they had to try to show profits for that quarter, so they opened the park kind of prematurely, and just to try to get revenue, mostly for the shareholders. And so I believe that those decisions were made for those reasons. They still, we as consumers don't have to give a crap about that, but it is a reason. But I do. This is a little perverse, but this is what I like. I like when business people like this, when they try to outsmart the general public, when they try to outsmart the consumer, and then they get busted. That's my favorite thing. So when Galaxy's Edge opened, they thought they had a simulator ride, which was kind of cool, but it wasn't really the be all end all. The park itself, Galaxy's Edge is, Batu, is kind of interesting and kind of fun. But if you had an e-ticket ride like the Rise of Resistance there, and then you had a secondary ride, which was the Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run, and then you had all that stuff to support it, now you're talking about a recipe for success. But just trying to get some quick money on the books to appease shareholders, and then having it blow up in your face. Well, guess what, man? You're messing with fire. You thought you knew better than the consumers, and you got busted, and you deserved it because you didn't come out with all the bells and whistles. You teased this thing, and you didn't deliver. And so you get everything that's coming to you. So I don't really feel bad for Disney. I understand why they did it, but I still think they made the wrong move. I think putting Kathleen Kennedy in charge of the features of Star Wars, and then possibly, like you were saying, Chester, if she's the puppet and Iger or whoever else is the puppet master, either way, their legacy is tarnished, and it's going to stand the test of time. That they made some pretty crappy movies, and those are there forever, man. Like these movies are there. You can't just wash your hands of this stuff. These things exist. People remember this stuff. So I kind of like it when companies second guess or think they know better than the general public, and they give us a piece of crap and then nobody buys it. I kind of like that. Because then we can course correct, then we can be honest, and then they can be honest with the consumer and figure out what the consumer really wants, which is what they should be doing anyway.
Yeah. And besides, dude, you talk about Galaxy's Edge here, dude. I mean, think about this. What kind of brainiac over there didn't have the idea that now that you finally have the rights to Star Wars, you didn't create a roller coaster where you get to ride inside a TIE fighter or an X-Wing? I mean, really? The simplest thing you could have done, and everyone would be like, "Oh, it's awesome!" And you didn't do that.
Well, give it time. I'm sure you'll get something like that. Yeah,
Imagine if you had Luke Skywalker, like have Mark Hamill come in, play a short video where he's doing a training of Padawans, and you are the Padawan. Like you have to go through the town and create your own Jedi, your own lightsaber, and you become a Jedi. Like they could have done that really simple.
Yeah, like the walking LARPing. Yeah, that's a great idea. Well, they should have done a working LARP there.
That's what they originally pitched. It really did look like it was going to be more immersive, where there were going to be like alien-looking people walking around and more themed just people just to flesh out the world, because the problem always becomes the immersive. It's only going to be as cool as the people that are there, because if you have a bunch of tourists with Mickey ears on, you're already blowing the immersion. You know what I mean? Like you're already messing with the immersion. But if you could balance that out with some players, like actors that are in character that interact with people, then you can feel like you're a visitor and that you're in an actual immersive world versus, going in, into a shop and then having somebody working the counter or something like that, where you actually can encounter people on the street. And one of the things they also had advertised is there were going to be droids just kind of bopping around on the streets and stuff. And I know that could be a logistics nightmare, but that would have been damn cool, man. I've gone to conventions where there's people with, RC units, and they're just kind of, radio controlling their R2 units through convention floors. So if they could do that, I don't know why they couldn't do it here at one of these parks.
We have droids moving around the streets of Japan right now, dude.
Really? That's cool.
Yeah, they give you map directions and stuff like that. They're all over the place. So I mean, if they could do it in the wild here in Japan, why can't they do it in a controlled environment? And and I don't know about you guys, but every time I saw Mickey when I was at Disney World, I wanted to tackle him.
Yeah, you knew it was a guy in a costume even as a kid.
I wanted to tackle him.
Another thing is that they could do a Jabba the Hutt, animatronic Jabba the Hutt, giving you missions for bounty hunters and stuff like that.
Yeah, and
figure out how to do that.
The big backlash is that they don't really have, the original Star Wars part of the new attraction. There is there's Chewbacca, there's the Millennium Falcon, there's some references, but it's really not predominant. It's not really there on the surface, and so a lot of people have a problem with that as well. So I think they can course correct that as well. I had an idea that they just build a Sith temple, or something like that, where there's kind of this dark presence that's, in that area. So you could see the remains, or almost like they're worshiping Vader and the Sith that have come before. And so you can kind of, I don't know if it would be how interactive or how it would be, but you could definitely have a temple there that would represent the bad. And then you could have like a Jedi, temple as well. So you could kind of represent the good and bad. But I think also what they're trying to do with Star Wars, which is really weird, is they're trying to play down the real, this is good and this is bad. Like in the new trilogy, it's weirdly gray. Like we were talking about Kylo. Are they going to try to redeem him somehow? If so, how the hell would you do that? That guy is.
Here's another cool one that they could do. You just throw kids into a swampy type area, and then they can find a cave, and in that cave is the that mirror stuff that they use in carnivals. And you have it as, the cave of the Dark Jedi or whatever, where you have to face your fears.
So you're saying play on the psychology of that you're at some place that should feel like Star Wars.
Well, that's what the initial idea was, that it really is a self-contained universe, because you can't see any of the Disney park from that attraction, from that area. And so it was always advertised as kind of more immersive, kind of like if you went to the Renaissance Pleasure Fair. I don't know if they have those where you guys are at, where you have all these different
I love those. Yeah.
that are in character. They play the music, they partake in whatever was going on. They have gypsies, they have fortune tellers, they have all kinds of different stuff. They have archery and all those things. So it really feels immersive. So it was originally pitched as something more like that. Go ahead.
Do the simple stuff that's really easy, and then you also get it so that you can get that LARPing aspect, and then you don't even have to do the droids that are all over the park, because that costs money and all that stuff. You will have people coming into the theme park just chilling in the area as characters from the Star Wars universe.
Yeah, one of the things that there was some backlash, because they sell really cool costuming and things like that in the shops, but they say you can't wear those. So even if you bought a Jedi robe or something like that at Galaxy's Edge, you can't wear it. And they even kind of say, with the lightsaber, they don't want you walking around with the lightsaber because they're feeling like you could hit somebody with it, or you could hurt somebody or threaten. You know what I mean? Like they're just looking at their bottom line as far as legalities.
Absolutely nonsense. I am a living weapon myself, sir.
Well,
just make it okay to hit Mickey.
Yes.
Just whack some kids, with a lightsaber. The thing is, most people are bumping into each other with, like those kids, those adults with those strollers, they're ramming into everybody anyway. So what's the difference between getting whacked with the stroller or getting hit with a lightsaber?
Right. But the thing that's kind of killing me as we're having these conversations here today is we've come up with many ideas, all of them better than what they did. How is that possible? How is that possible?
Mhm.
Exactly. Well, I think people need to start watching the Pontificators show because we have the answers to any question. We have the answers.
Damn right.
You're damn right. And I've been neglecting poor DeWolf in the chat here.
He's got a link. He can bring his butt in here.
Yeah, you want to come in just for a minute? We can say hello, goodbye if you want.
No, don't do it because we gotta go. Don't do it. He missed his opportunity.
Well, you started this, Chester.
I know. And congratulations to your son, dude. That's cool. I'm glad to hear he's doing well with that.
And he comes up with a good point. There's all those 501st, Legion that could go in there and just cosplay. And those guys are really good because a lot of times at conventions, those guys are working security at the same time. So they're not just like pretty faces. They actually serve a purpose.
Why aren't they doing
they missed the ball with that.
Yeah, there's another, and then I'll let everybody go. But there was some kind of tauntaun like ground transportation that takes you from one part of Batu to the other, and it's kind of like this big. I think that's what they're called, like tauntauns, the big hairy creatures. Yeah. And then you could ride on the backs of those things, and they're mechanized. I saw like a prototype for one of them on one of these Disney YouTube channels, and it looked pretty badass. You know how people ride elephants and stuff like that?
Sure.
It's kind of like that, where they had this big basket on top of it, and the thing actually, I've seen it, man. It has this mechanism, and the thing can walk. It's pretty crazy. So they were developing that. So I don't know if liability, entered into it or just cost or whatever, but they're thinking of other ideas. There's way to expand, that Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. So I still hold promise, out for it. I do understand people's initial reaction to it, but I think that there's potential there, and I think that Disney Plus has showed some potential as well.
Imagine if they could just build like a small part of a Star Destroyer or the Death Star. You just go in there and you have a laser tag game.
Oh, they have one of those. They have one of those at the downtown Disney area. Yeah, they have a whole Star Wars themed laser tag area.
But you tie it in with, you have the Millennium Falcon ride. You get on the Millennium Falcon. It takes you over to there.
Oh, dude, I guarantee you they'll do that. They already have all those shooter rides anyways. I think they're building a Spider-Man one like that where you have these web shooters and you get to shoot targets and stuff like that. So they have the technology easily. That would be pretty cool, man, where you actually have a blaster and you could zap things.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
Well, there's have like adult actors for like the stormtroopers, and they play along with it, and so you get these people like actually falling down and knocking over. The kids would be like really excited about that.
Yeah, sure. You're actually killing people.
And Ewoks that you could kick. Oh, that'd be awesome, dude.
Oh, they could have a kick an Ewok attraction.
Yeah, dude.
Hunt an Ewok. They can grade you, judge you on distance.
And for the parents, they can now do the Yoda stroller thing. The Toyota stroller thing.
All seriousness, though, it does shock me that you're telling me that they're not letting people wear costumes in the park. That doesn't make any sense at all, dude. Talk about missing opportunities.
Right. The only backlash, and it's kind of bullshitty, is that they said they don't want kids coming up to people like strangers in costumes thinking that they work at the park. So it blurs the line between like, like a real person that works for Disney and somebody who doesn't. So I think they're worried about children being abducted and like stuff like that. So I think that's their main problem with that.
Jeez, man.
So
Talk about
Okay, we can do what's
overthinking
left
life,
in the
man.
world.
Well, the horrible part is we live in this time where everybody's so cynical. Like, you think the worst case scenario before you even be creative. You know what I mean? Like, you're already naysaying things because of the worst case scenario. And I guess Disney's been sued enough, so maybe that is always their go-to. But yeah, it's a horrible commentary on what the world is. We're so logistic and so sue happy.
Can I sue them over emotional trauma from The Last Jedi?
You can
Damn
try.
right.
You can try. Some woman tried to sue Disney because they went backstage because the kid had some like health problems or something like that, and her son saw some like a Mickey Mouse without his Mickey head on, and he had a nervous breakdown or some craziness like that. I'm sorry, man. If any kid older than, I don't know, 2 or 3 sees a giant Mickey and doesn't know it's a guy in a costume, then they have more problems than just that. Yeah.
Yeah, don't get me
Headless
on that
mouth.
subject. You'll have rants galore.
Okay.
Pixel Trader came in and says he's late.
He's
Dude, you're
For a
always
very
late.
important date.
Yeah, we gotta get Pixel in for one of these pontificators. That guy is a major blowhard. That's a joke.
Yeah.
That's a
He's
joke.
super handsome too, you know. He's
He is a
super
good
handsome.
looking gentleman.
He is
He is a
good looking.
good looking gentleman.
He looks like Ben Affleck.
He looks a lot like Ben Affleck. You're
Yeah,
right.
he does.
You are right there. All right, man. Well, this has been a blast hanging out with you guys. So much fun. And I think this Pontificators thing is really working out, man. This is good stuff. All right, brother. So thanks all in the chat for hanging out with us. Thanks to everybody on my panel here for the Pontificators. And we will see you next week. Have a good weekend.
Later,
Awesome.
guys.
Goodbye.